I was diagnosed with terminal stomach cancer, yet the doctor actually told me to go eat a McDonald's meal. My parents also told me not to call them, saying that a tiny little illness isn't enough to kill someone, but only I knew that I had only 3 months left to live. After walking out of the hospital all alone, I couldn't help but reminisce over the past 19 years. And my parents' extreme favoritism toward my younger sister. Mom and dad always told me you're the older brother. You need to be sensible and give way to your sister in everything. I was always a good kid in the eyes of other families. Yet in their eyes, I was just a disobedient older brother. Even after suddenly fainting this time, they still insisted on going to attend my sister's parent-teacher conference, and merely threw a cold remark at me. Hurry up and head home as soon as you finish your checkup. Before I knew it, tears wouldn't stop streaming down my face. Right, then someone right ahead suddenly crashed straight into me, sending items scattering all over the floor. I immediately apologized out of sheer reflex. Looking closer at the person, I realized it was our former neighbor, Uncle Lee. Chen Xiaoyu, why aren't you watching where you're walking? All my stuff got smashed and ruined. How on earth did your parents raise and educate you? Uncle Liu started chewing me out indiscriminately without distinguishing right from wrong. I'll pay you back for them. I pulled out a few red 100 yuan bills. Uncle Liu's face instantly lit up with a beaming smile. He snatched the red bills and immediately wanted to walk away. Looking at his retreating back, I couldn't help thinking to myself as a dying man, why do I still have to act so timid and submissive? Clearly, it was his fault, so I reflexively called out to stop him. Right after that, I stepped forward and took the items in his hands, tossing them straight into the nearby trash can. Uncle Liu was dumbfounded. What the hell are you doing? I already paid you the money, then all those things belong to me now. I can do whatever the hell I want with them. Uncle Liu stood there in a daze, unable to process or react for the longest time, changing my tone completely. I continued, Uncle Liu, you were the one who walked right into me just now. Yet you pointed the finger and blamed me. Are you blind or what? His jaw dropped wide open in shock, and I didn't bother paying any more attention to him, and turned around to walk away. When I got back home, my parents and younger sister were eating dinner. Upon seeing me step through the door, they all locked their eyes intensely on me. I muttered a brief, I'm back, and walked straight into my own bedroom. That was when Mom, Linlin, couldn't hold back her anger anymore. What kind of attitude is that? And then she chased after me to interrogate me further. Uncle Liu called over the phone today, saying that you knocked him down. Not only did you refuse to apologize, but you also cursed him out fiercely. My father, Chen Shou, also walked up to the doorway. With a dark, gloomy face, he said, Chen Xiaoyu, you need to realize our family has never taught you to act like that. Making mistakes doesn't matter. Just admitting your mistake is enough. Give Uncle Liu a phone call right now and offer a sincere apology. Did you hear me? Yet I simply replied flatly, no. The two of them froze in place, unable to process it for the longest time. What kind of attitude is this now? We're only scolding and lecturing you for your own good? You ungrateful, furious because of my words. They instantly flared up in rage. I could also feel a wave of intense physical discomfort washing over me. Today was the day I went to the hospital to pick up my medical report. Yet from the moment I stepped through the door until now, not a single one of them asked a single word about my condition or illness. Linlin seemed to sense my unusual behavior, Chen Xiaoyu. If you bump into someone and knock them down, shouldn't you apologize? Yet Chen Shou was still fuming. Why waste any more breath-talking nonsense with him? Our family does not raise or harbor unbred children like this. If he refuses to apologize, don't ever call us mom and dad ever again from now on. I agreed to it. I replied with an icy, detached tone, then raised my head to look straight back at them, and said my life was given to me by you two. So technically I should be calling you mom and dad for the rest of my life. Since you're demanding that I stop calling you that, then from now on, I won't ever call you dad and mom again. They stood frozen in shock. What is going on here? In the past, no matter what happened, you would always panic and rush to admit your wrongs and apologize. How can you possibly say something like that now? Chen Shou was so furious that his head buzzed and his entire body shook violently. Linlin looked at me with a face full of complete disappointment. Chen Xiaoyu, what on earth is wrong with you? I looked at them with an icy gaze. I went to pick up my medical records today, and the two of you didn't ask a single word about my illness or condition. The two of them paused. What's wrong with your illness anyway? You're a grown man, a real man. What's the big deal about getting a little sick? Whining and dragging your feet like a woman. Mom's words, Linlin's tone were relatively sincere, even though there was still some blame mixed in. On the contrary, Dad Chen Shou's words came across as quite aggressive and harsh. I'm exhausted. Can you guys please get out now? I closed my eyes in discomfort and pain. I had zero mood to explain anything to them right now. Yet Chen Shou still wanted to say something more, though he was immediately dragged out of the room by Linlin. Not long after Linlin's phone started ringing. Hello, I am Chen Xiaoyu's attending doctor. He didn't bring his medical records back home with him today. An elderly voice came through from the other end. Everything's fine, right? No big issues, I presume. I understand now. Lin Yu waved her hand dismissively with a smile, and even thanked the elderly doctor politely. The elderly doctor fell silent for a brief moment, although he didn't tell you directly which might be better. As his elders and family members, I believe you have the right to know the harsh truth. You're making it sound way too scary. My son has always had an exceptionally healthy body, Mingyu said with a dismissive smile. The elderly doctor continued with a serious, earnest tone. The illness your son is suffering from is terminal stomach cancer. There is no longer any way to treat or cure it. He only has 3 months left to live at most. Doctor, you must be joking, right? My son's physical health is fantastic. He doesn't even cough or sneeze. How could Lin Yu? At that moment, for some reason, a wave of fear washed over her. The diagnosis was tested and detected by professional medical machinery, so there is absolutely no possibility of some mistake. The elderly doctor spoke in a flat tone and hung up the phone. Lin Yu stood frozen in place, completely dumbfounded and petrified. No, I have to go ask Chen Xiaoyu about this right now. With a panicked look in her eyes, Lin Yu sprinted at full speed toward the second floor. Inside the room, Chen Xiaoyu was sleeping soundly and peacefully. Lin Yu gazed at his calm, tranquil face, and suddenly felt an indescribable ache and sorrow in her heart. That night, Lin Yu lay awake in bed and thought about a lot of things. She suddenly realized that she seemed to have never given Chen Xiaoyu anything at all. I still remember back then when he said he wanted to eat durian, because his younger sister disliked that smell. I told him that as the older brother, he needed to give way to his sister. There was once when he happily told us that he scored a perfect 100 on all his subjects. We merely smiled in response, thinking it was nothing more than expected and natural, whereas when his sister only managed to barely pass, we would be overjoyed beyond belief. Scene after scene from the past flooded back into her mind. At that moment, Lin Yu's heart felt as painful as if it were being torn completely apart. Why did it turn out like this? Lin Yu's tears soaked completely through the pillowcase on the bed. The next day, Chen Xiaoyu got up quite late. When he got up, the whole family was already sitting at the dining table eating breakfast. To his surprise, he found out today's breakfast was dumplings. Dumplings were his absolute favorite food, but his younger sister hated eating them, so dishes like this rarely ever appeared on the dining table. Big bro, today we made your favorite food? Aren't you happy? Chen Lin said to me with a beaming, playful smile. I waved my hand dismissively and said I wasn't eating, then grabbed my backpack and walked straight out the door. Chen Xiao's voice came from behind. I told you not to make these. Total waste of effort, see? Chen Xiaoyu, the hospital called mom yesterday and told us all about your medical condition. That's not true, is it? I never intended to tell you guys in the first place. However, since mom already knows, then she knows. But I must ask you not to spread this around or tell anyone else. I just want to quietly and peacefully spend these last 3 months of my life. This can't be real. Let's go get checked out again, okay? The hospital must have made a mistake. I looked at her indifferently and turned around to walk away. In the past, no matter how many things I did, I couldn't even earn a single smile from them. Now I really can't get used to this sudden change. At this moment, Lin Yu stood behind crying with her face covered in tears. You have to believe that mom truly loves you. Right after that, when Chen Xiaoyu arrived at school, he spotted Li Jianan and Lan Xinyu from afar. Seeing that it was him, Lan Xinyu subconsciously pulled away to create some distance between herself and Li Jianan. Chen Xiaoyu merely smiled and walked right past the two of them. Li Jianan was my neighbor, and also a good friend I grew up with since childhood, while Lan Xinyu was the girl I had a crush on and liked. If it were back in the past and I saw a scene like this, my heart definitely would have felt extremely uncomfortable and pained, because Li Jianan also liked Lan Xinyu, but now I had already grown indifferent and seen right through it all. Seeing me coldly walk away without a word, Lan Xinyu turned around and called out to stop me. Chen Xiaoyu, we're not what you think we are at all. We were just talking about some things, that's all. I gave a nod of acknowledgement and strode forward toward the classroom. Lan Xinyu, for the very first time, saw Chen Xiaoyu treat her with such cold indifference and suddenly felt a creeping sense of fear. Xinyu, let's keep going. Sorry, I need to go find Chen Xiaoyu. He's been acting kind of strange today, and I'm worried about him. Without waiting, Lan Xinyu turned and ran off to chase after me. Watching Lan Xinyu's retreating figure run away, Li Jianan kicked a large tree in blind rage. Li Jianan used to be a really close friend of mine back when we were kids, though I don't know exactly when it started. We slowly began to drift apart and grow distant. And as time went on, Li Jianan would even find excuses every now and then, just to pick a fight and cause trouble for me. As for Lan Xinyu, I first met her down by the seaside. Back then, Lan Xinyu was drowning in the water, and I was the one who jumped in and rescued her. Later on, we ended up placed in the exact same class, and gradually grew familiar with one another. Yet, in response to my confession of feelings, she never gave me a definitive, clear answer. I used to think that after putting in all this effort and doing so much, she would surely be moved and touch my heart. Right at that moment, Lan Xinyu hurriedly chased up from behind Chen Xiaoyu. You seem a bit off today. Are you okay? I'm fine. Lan Xinyu was left momentarily speechless. If it were the old Chen Xiaoyu witnessing that scene earlier, there is no way he would have just smiled it off. The unease gnawing at her heart grew even stronger. Lan Xinyu opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something. But I cut her off right then and there. Lan Xinyu. Actually, I used to like you a lot. Lan Xinyu was choked up and struck dumb instantly, subconsciously wanting to dodge and run away. Chen Xiaoyu let out a faint smile, and then turned around cleanly and decisively to walk away. Lan Xinyu gazed at Chen Xiaoyu's retreating figure, feeling a sudden inexplicable sharp ache squeezing her heart. If it were back in the past, Chen Xiaoyu would always persistently hound her for an answer about her attitude. Yet this time around, he didn't do that at all. Li Jianan was called upon by the teacher to stand up and answer a question. Yet with his notoriously poor grades, he could only stand there foolishly in a daze. Seeing this, the teacher let out a sigh. It seems having student Chen Xiaoyu tutor you previously didn't really help improve things all that much after all. Student Chen Xiaoyu. From now on, I'll still have to trouble you to help student Li Jianan out more privately. I slowly rose to my feet. Teacher, I've got some personal things to deal with lately, so you should probably ask someone else instead. The teacher froze in absolute shock. Everyone else in the classroom also turned to look at me with surprised expressions. I had always been the model, obedient student in the eyes of the teachers. So from their perspective, as long as it was a request from a teacher, I would never refuse whatsoever. Is there something urgent going on? Li Jianan suddenly felt an unspeakable wave of anger and frustration bubble up, and glared viciously at Chen Xiaoyu teacher. Student Li Jianan clearly holds some kind of prejudice against me. Every single time I put my heart into teaching him, he never pays attention or listens properly. I still have a lot of important things to take care of, and I don't want to waste any more of my time on matters like this. Hearing Chen Xiaoyu be so blunt and direct, the teacher had no choice but to nod awkwardly. The students in the classroom stared at me in absolute astonishment. Is this seriously still Chen Xiaoyu? How on earth could Chen Xiaoyu say something like that? He actually had the nerve to disobey a teacher's direct request. If it were back in the old days, he would have agreed to it without a single second thought. Amidst the buzzing whispers of the surrounding classmates, Lan Xinyu also looked at Chen Xiaoyu in a daze lost in deep thought. She recalled that exact scene from earlier, and somehow felt even more convinced that this was simply Chen Xiaoyu's special way of confessing his feelings to her. Meanwhile, on the other side, Li Jianan found himself trapped between standing up and sitting back down awkwardly. As he stared over at Chen Xiaoyu, his fist clenched tightly as the after-school bell finally rang out. The labor committee member reminded me and Li Jianan that it was our turn to clean up the classroom. Seeing me packing up my things to leave, Li Jianan slammed the broom straight down in front of me. Chen Xiaoyu, I've got some stuff to take care of today, so you can just handle the cleaning for me, yeah? I shot him a sideways glance, noticing that right now Li Jianan had a look of absolute entitlement on his face, showing zero attitude of asking for a favor, and instead acting all arrogant and cocky. On what grounds? On the grounds that I've got business, so you should cover for me. Didn't you used to do this kind of stuff all the time anyway? By this point, I had already finished packing up all my belongings and slung my school backpack over my shoulder. Li Jianan could clearly tell that I wasn't paying his words even an ounce of respect or attention. With a dark, gloomy expression, Li Jianan said, "We've all grown up together since we were kids. Now that I've got an urgent matter, you're not seriously going to refuse to help, are you?" Seeing Li Jianan's posture and behavior, the surrounding students all turned their heads to watch. In the past, whenever Li Jianan put on this exact kind of act, I would always prioritize the bigger picture and choose to compromise and back down. Because I never wanted to make things overly difficult or messy, watching Li Jianan's expression grow increasingly fierce and ugly, I acted as if I didn't see it at all, and said indifferently, "You can go ahead and drop the not from your sentence. You'll help me out." I said drop the not so it becomes refuse to help. Hearing those words, quite a few people nearby burst out laughing with a snort. Li Jianan's face turned a mottled, furious shade of green as he gritted his teeth and stared daggers at Chen Xiaoyu. "Are you fucking playing me again? Stop flattering yourself and acting so full of yourself." I didn't even spare him a glance as I walked right past him. Li Jianan felt like his head was about to blow smoke in pure rage. He would rather have Chen Xiaoyu scold and curse him out than be treated with this level of utter invisibility and indifference. In a fit of flustered, exasperated anger, Li Jianan grabbed my shoulder and yelled, "Stop right there. I was just asking you for a simple favor. If you weren't willing to help, you could have just said it straight out. Why the hell do you have to play games and mess with me like this? Is it fun to you?" Hearing those words, I suddenly thought back to all sorts of things from the past and let out a cold chuckle. I remember the very first time I actually refused, and as a result, he nearly lunged forward to lecture and discipline me, not wanting everyone to lose face or make things awkward. I ended up just giving in and agreeing, yet every time I refused after that, he would always pull this exact same stunt. I slowly turned back around, with a cold, indifferent gaze in my eyes. I don't have any obligation whatsoever to help you. My intimidating aura left Lee Jenin looking somewhat flustered and pathetic. He stammered out, "Aren't we friends?" "We are not friends. We merely know to each other, nothing more. Secondly, even friends don't have an absolute obligation to help each other out. And besides, is this seriously the attitude you use when begging someone for a favor? Anyone who didn't know better would think I owed you a few $1,000,000. Seeing everyone staring directly at him, Lee Jenin broke out in a cold sweat drenched from head to toe. I thought we were friends. Friends don't need to filter themselves or worry about formalities when talking. Stop flattering yourself and projecting. I said we are not friends. If the way you treat friends is by bossing them around with commands, then I honestly feel deeply sorry for anyone who has the misfortune of being your friend." As soon as Chen Xiaoyu finished dropping those words, Li Zhenan's face turned a blazing, furious shade of red. The surrounding classmates also stared at him in blank, stunned silence, finding it almost too hard to believe, and the one most shocked of all was none other than Lan Xinyu. Today's Chen Xiaoyu was simply way too abnormal and out of character. It felt like he had completely transformed into an entirely different person. She looked at Chen Xiaoyu's retreating back, and suddenly felt an empty hollow ache open up in her chest. "Chen Xiaoyu, if you're going to humiliate me like this, I'm never going to let you get away with it." In a fit of flustered, desperate rage, Li Jianan lunged straight toward me. Seeing this, two nearby classmates stepped in and blocked Li Jianan's path. With bloodshot eyes, Li Jianan shoved the two classmates away with a violent push. "Don't try to hold me back. If I don't teach him a harsh lesson today, my name isn't Li Jianan." As soon as he finished shouting, Li Jianan clenched his fist tightly and charged forward. A few timid female students shrieked out in sheer terror. Looking at Li Jianan's aggressive posture and fierce drive, it looked like he was genuinely trying to beat Chen Xiaoyu to death. Quite a few students in the crowd couldn't bear to watch and instinctively closed their eyes. Li Jianan was much taller and bulkier than the average classmate. While Chen Xiaoyu looked somewhat slender and nerfed by comparison, he was simply no match for him at all. Watching Li Jianan charge straight toward him, Chen Xiaoyu unleashed a swift kick right into his chest, sending Li Jianan staggering and crashing hard against a desk. Everyone present in the classroom stood frozen in absolute shock at this sight. I cast a cold, detached glance down at him. "Don't forget I used to practice Wing Chun back in the day." After dropping those words, I slung my backpack over my shoulder and sauntered out of the classroom in swagger style. "Chen Xiaoyu, I'm never going to let you get away with this." Li Jianan roared in a fit of exasperated, furious rage. Yet because he spoke a bit too emotionally and intensely, he immediately burst into a continuous fit of coughing. The students inside the classroom were still staring blankly at what had just transpired in disbelief. Even now, they still couldn't wrap their heads around it. What on earth had gotten into Chen Xiaoyu today? "Xinyu," called out a female classmate as Lan Xinyu abruptly rose from her seat and sprinted out after Chen Xiaoyu. If it were back in the past, she would have definitely rushed over to care for Li Jianan first thing. Yet today, she was acting completely out of character as well. Seeing Lan Xinyu hurriedly chase after him in a rush, Li Jianan suddenly deflated like a punctured balloon, leaking all its air. The surrounding people cast sympathetic glances his way. Everyone in the class knew the situation inside and out. Although Li Jianan had always liked Lan Xinyu had stubbornly held a torch for Chen Xiaoyu all this time. Chen Xiaoyu, stop right there." I didn't speak up immediately. Instead, I just looked at Lan Xinyu with total indifference. "You've been acting super weird and strange today, so what are you here to interrogate and put me on trial?" "I don't mean it like that at all." Lan Xinyu panicked instantly and hurriedly shook her head, denying it. If it were the old days, even if Lan Xinyu didn't say it out loud, her words would always implicitly lean toward blaming Chen Xiaoyu, making him feel like he always had to compromise for the bigger picture. "So what on earth are you trying to say here? What exactly has happened to you? Today you've changed so much that none of us even recognize you anymore. My personal matters don't require anyone else to stress or waste energy over them. You don't need to worry about me, and I won't cause any trouble or impact anyone else either." Lan Xinyu felt an inexplicable tight ache squeeze her heart. Could it be that in his eyes, she was just someone defined by a mere title to him? Could it all be summed up and brushed aside just like that? "What about what I told you this morning, me and you? Don't you even want to ask about the outcome or answer?" "No need. Haven't you always been the one dodging and making excuses in the past?" Lan Xinyu grew somewhat anxious and panicked, sensing that if she let me walk away this time around, everything between them would truly be over for good. You don't mean it like that. Well, then I won't waste any more of your time. Living your own life your own way is great as it is. I just hadn't figured things out clearly back then. It's not that I didn't like you. If you don't have anything else to say, I'm heading out. Can we still go back to how things used to be before we'll always remain friends? Lan Xinyu clutched her chest tightly. Those two words, friends, made it almost impossible for her to breathe. It was the first time she had ever felt such a sharp, piercing pain after Li Zhenin finally finished cleaning up the classroom. The sky outside had already grown dark. He carried his school bag and walked into a certain house. Inside the room, various types of sketches and portraits were displayed everywhere. Right in the dead center, a young man of 23 or 24 years old was busy painting. Hearing the commotion, he turned around. Li Zhenin spoke up apologetically, sorry about that. Sunki big bro, Sunki. Grew up in the exact same apartment complex as us back in the day. He took care of me like a dependable older brother. Got into another fight and fell out with Chen Xiaoyu again, huh? Every single time you and Chen Xiaoyu get into an argument, you always end up running over to my place. Because, Chen Xiaoyu used to come here often too. Li Zhenan fell silent, unable to retort. Since you claim you treat him as a friend, why do you keep doing those kinds of things to him? I bullied him again today. I just can't stand the sight of him. Clearly, we all grew up together side by side. Yet it always feels like he's towering over me and overshadowing me no matter what. In everyone else's eyes, everything he does is right. Why is it that in everyone's eyes there is only room for him alone, and my existence is never acknowledged? The conflict between Li Zhenan and Chen Xiaoyu ran deep and had a long history. It wasn't something that could be resolved simply by a mere word or two from Sun Qi. He had once witnessed Li Zhenin run up right in front of him and break down crying hysterically, telling him how his own mother was always comparing him to Chen Xiaoyu, comparing their personalities, comparing their grades. Back then, however, Li Zhenan only felt a sense of resentment and pushback toward Chen Xiaoyu. Everything underwent a massive, drastic change the moment they met Lan Xinyu. Even though Chen Xiaoyu was the one who actually saved Lan Xinyu mistakenly believed that it was Li Zhenin who saved her life. So Li Zhenin used the identity of her life-saving benefactor to stay by Lan Xinyu's side all this time. Although Lan Xinyu harbored feelings for Chen Xiaoyu because of Li Zhenan's involvement and interference, she could never bring herself to accept Chen Xiaoyu. Yet even so, Li Zhenan knew Lan Xinyu's true feelings better than anyone else. Ever since that time onward, Li Zhenan grew to utterly hate Chen Xiaoyu with a passion. Yet deep down inside, he was also terrified. He was deathly afraid of Lan Xinyu ever finding out the raw truth, because back then he had loudly and repeatedly claimed that he was her true savior, using that lie to beg Lan Xinyu not to accept Chen Xiaoyu's confession. He impatiently hung up the phone and turned away to leave. Watching his retreating back, Sun Qi let out a soft, helpless sigh. Yet, with a hint of worry, he glanced over in the direction of another place. In the past, Chen Xiaoyu and Li Zhenin would always show up at his place one after the other. But today I didn't come. When Chen Xiaoyu finally got back home, it was already quite late. Mom, Dad, and my younger sister were eating fruit and watching television together in the living room. I muttered a perfunctory, I'm back out of routine, and walked straight toward my own bedroom without stopping. Chen Shu stood up with a dark, gloomy face and spoke up with the strict authority of a father. Hold on, why are you coming home so late tonight? What on earth were you doing out there? Does whatever I do have anything to do with you or require reporting? You never used to come home this late in the past. You are getting way too disappointing nowadays. I'm disappointing you. It seems like you've never actually cared about me or given a damn, have you? What the hell do you mean by that? How can you possibly talk to us like this? The manners and etiquette I taught you since childhood taught you to respect your elders. Is this seriously the way you speak to your own father? A wave of heavy oppression washed over me, wondering what on earth my father even was to me. I'm kind of tired right now. I don't feel like arguing anymore. If you guys don't have anything else to say, I'm going to my room to rest. Chensho was shaking all over with rage, while Linyu watched from the side with her heart in her throat in shock. Why are you coming home this late at night? Where on earth did you go? What kind of shady, shameful things were you doing out there? Shady and shameful. Hearing him say that made my heart grow even colder and detached. Linyu pulled on Chensho's arm with tears streaming uncontrollably. Stop talking already. Take a good look at what you've turned into now. You're nothing more than an unbred hoodlum and punk. Our family's entire face and reputation have been completely ruined by you. All you know how to do is point fingers and scold me. Do you even have any clue what actually happened out there? You make mistakes yourself, yet don't know how to reflect on them, and just want to shirk and escape responsibility? Who on earth taught you to act like this? The more Chinsho spoke, the more self-righteous and confident he felt. Meanwhile, my younger sister had walked over at some point without us noticing. She had never seen Chen Shou look this ferocious and terrifying before. Big bro, just apologize and admit you're wrong. Dad is really angry. My sister tried to persuade and advise me, while Lin Yu also looked at Chen Xiaoyu with hopeful, expectant eyes. I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not going to admit any wrongdoing. Saying anything more to you guys is completely meaningless. If you want to report me to the police or whatever, go right ahead. With that, I wanted to flee. Staying in this place makes it completely impossible for me to find any peace of mind no matter what. My sister stared blankly at Chen Xiaoyu in utter bewilderment. Clearly, all it took was a single simple apology to settle things. They simply didn't understand why Chen Xiaoyu stubbornly refused to do something so simple. At that moment, Chen Shou pulled out his leather belt and swung it directly toward Chen Xiaoyu's body. Lin Yu hurriedly threw her arms around Chen Shou to hold him back, and called out to my sister to help pull Chen Shou away together. Chen Shou doted on his younger daughter and cared about her feelings. So with her right there, he definitely wouldn't strike recklessly. After making it back to my room, Chen Xiao's furious booming roars still echoed through the walls continuously. Let go of me, I'm gonna teach that ungrateful bastard a harsh lesson. Who the hell does he think he is? Everything he eats and wears was provided by me. If I didn't want to support him anymore, he'd starve to death on the streets in no time. Hearing those words, Chen Xiaoyu's tears fell uncontrollably against his will, as he couldn't help but wonder to himself, why on earth did he even bother being born into this world? Late at night, Chen Xiaoyu sat staring blankly at a book in a daze. Lin Yu put on the act of a loving, caring mother and walked into my room. Chen Xiaoyu, I'm your mother. Naturally, I'm just here to check on you. No need. I don't need it at all. Lin Yu still walked over to the side of the bed and sat down. Your dad was actually just doing this for your own good, you know? Chen Xiaoyu didn't pick up the conversation or reply and simply remained in dead silence. Lin Yu continued speaking softly. When your dad was a kid, he used to act just like you and go through the same things. But later on, because of certain circumstances, he never got to go to college. So because of that, he has always pinned all his personal hopes and dreams onto you. The way he treats you is purely out of love, except all of that is completely meaningless and doesn't matter anymore. I am someone who is practically on the verge of death. Chen Xiaoyu, we are a real family. Whatever problems arise, we can face them together as a family. Alright, I want to get some rest now. I interrupted her with an impatient, annoyed tone. Lin Yu opened her mouth as if she wanted to say more but choked back the words. And with eyes full of tears, she left the room. After getting back to her bedroom, Chen Shu immediately interrogated her. Was that little idiot saying more hurtful, ungrateful things to you again? I'm going to go teach him a harsh lesson right now. No, you aren't. Lin Yu shrieked out with a sharp, piercing voice. Chen Shu was startled and taken aback by the sudden outburst. He stared fixedly at Lin Yu, as her tears streamed down uncontrollably, unable to be held back any longer. Chen Xiaoyu, he... The words reached the tip of her tongue. Yet no matter what, Lin Yu just couldn't bring herself to finish saying them. Seeing Lin Yu looking so heartbroken and distressed, the anger blazing in Chen Shou's eyes burned even deeper. Lin Yu kept shaking her head while crying continuously. Yet Chen Shou's face turned dark and gloomy to the absolute extreme. Since he turned out like this because I failed to educate and discipline him properly, and he's ended up transforming into this state, then I'll take full responsibility for teaching and setting him straight myself. That night, Chen Xiaoyu found it immensely difficult to fall asleep. When he was little, although Dad was also very strict with him, he used to dote on him and show him a lot of affection. Yet he didn't know when exactly it was that things changed. Dad's attitude and demeanor completely shifted. Early the next morning, Chen Xiaoyu still went through his usual daily routine out of habit. Dropped a brief, I'm heading off to school. Mom made breakfast. Aren't you going to eat? Yet when he glanced over at the dining table, he was dumbfounded, then looked toward my younger sister. Where's breakfast? My sister kept her head lowered, too scared to say a single word. Soon enough, Lin Yu discovered the breakfast tossed straight into the trash can. And then she looked over at Chen Shou with a face full of deep disappointment. Was this your doing? I'm doing this today specifically to let him know who's the boss in this household. Lin Yu shook all over with anger and trembling, while Chen Shou stood up and continued being relentless and unreasonable. Look at that punkish hoodlum attitude of his. Just looking at him makes me sick to my stomach. Enough. What kind of father are you? He is your own son. Everything I'm doing is for his own good. Then he turned around and glared straight at me. You eat what I provide and wear what I buy. You have zero qualification to bargain or talk back to me. If you refuse to do what I tell you to do, I will never forgive you as long as I live. Then don't forgive me, see if I care. Chen Shou slammed his fist down onto the dining table in a fit of rage. Lin Yu and my sister were both shaking from the fright. If you step out that door today, don't ever think about coming back here again. I'll find some time to move out on my own, and won't be a burden to you guys anymore. What did you just say? Then get the hell out of here. Take all your stuff and get lost out of this house forever. Lin Yu couldn't hold it in anymore and shrieked out in panic. How can you possibly say such hurtful, devastating things to your own son? I'm doing this for his own good. He's just completely ungrateful and can't tell good from bad. Is abusing and humiliating him supposed to be for his own good? It's because you've spoiled him rotten all this time that he's turned into this state. If I had known ahead of time he would turn out like this, back when he was first born, I should have just strangled him to death with my bare hands. Lin Yu swung her hand and slapped Chenshou hard across the face with a loud smack. Chenshou stood frozen in a daze, unable to process what just happened for a moment. My younger sister burst into tears out of sheer terror right on the spot. Chenshou started cursing and swearing furiously in a rage, while Lin Yu covered her face with her hands and wept bitterly to herself. Do you even have any idea what has actually happened? Seeing Lin Yu acting like this, Chenshou felt an unexplainable wave of panic wash over him. Chen Xiaoyu kicked the front door wide open with a thud. Don't worry, I will move out as soon as possible. Chen Xiaoyu, Mom didn't mean it like that. I don't care anymore. Stop right there, who taught you to be so unbred and ill-mannered? Chen Xiaoyu didn't bother paying any more attention to his words. Stepping out the door, Chen Shou's voice immediately followed from behind. If you step out of this door today, we are severing all ties and cutting off our relationship completely. His voice was trembling heavily at this point. Yet, I simply glanced back at him once, turned around and strode away without looking back. Chen Shu suddenly panicked in a rush and charged forward toward me. Chen Xiaoyu, Lin Yu instantly jumped in to block his path. Chen Shou spoke up anxiously. What the hell are you doing? Are you really just going to watch our son cut ties and sever all relations with us? Lin Yu looked at Chen Shou's panicked expression, and her anger flared up intensely. Isn't this the exact result you wanted all along? I just wanted to make him become a better person. Lin Yu wept as she stared fixedly at Chen Shou. Chen Shou stammered out a flustered explanation. You know, what kind of person I've always hoped he would grow up to become. In my carefully laid out plan, he was going to become the absolute most elite and outstanding. He can't do it. And you couldn't do it either. Lin Yu shrieked out at the top of her lungs toward Chen Shou. Chen Shou's face turned pale as a sheet, with cold sweat breaking out and streaming down his face. I know the real reason. You're terrified of him, seeing his innermost thoughts and secrets being brutally exposed. Chen Shu's lips trembled uncontrollably. Terrified of his own son because of that incident that happened back then, Chen Shou shook his head repeatedly, refusing to admit it. Lin Yu covered her face and sobbed. Now look at what you've done. You've completely lost a son. Chen Shou's legs went weak and soft, and he collapsed limply onto the floor. Suddenly snapping back to reality, no, this won't do. I have to go find him right now. The after-school bell rang out across the campus. Lan Xinyu and Feng Ruobing were discussing amongst themselves why Chen Xiaoyu had suddenly changed so much. Feng Ruobing coldly muttered a single word, women. Hearing that Lan Xinyu suddenly felt a wave of agony wash over her. At that moment, Chen Xiaoyu walked out of the classroom carrying his school backpack. Lan Xinyu snapped back to reality instantly. Rushed out, Chen Xiaoyu, is something wrong? Where are you heading off to? She originally wanted to ask Chen Xiaoyu about whether he had started dating someone and gotten a girlfriend. Yet the words reached the tip of her tongue and she couldn't spit them out. If you have something to say, just say it straight out. Let's go to the library and study together. I glanced at her dismissively. Back in the day, I actually used to propose this exact kind of request. Yet Lan Xinyu was always worried about people gossiping and spreading rumors. So she never agreed to it once. Forget it, I've got stuff to do. Is there any reason why I can't know what you're up to? Lan Xinyu took 2 anxious steps forward. Why not? Why you used to say yourself? That you wanted to share everything and experience everything together with me. The past is the past, let bygones be bygones. But I don't want to let it become the past. Has everything between us really just ended like this? Chen Xiaoyu didn't answer her. Lan Xinyu raised her head and stared fixedly into his eyes. Have you fallen for someone else? Lan Xinyu, there was never any special relationship between us. From start to finish, we were nothing more than classmates. I have zero obligation to confess or explain anything to you. But you confessed your feelings to me, and you rejected me back then. I just hadn't figured things out clearly at that time. I don't have the time to sit around and wait for you to figure things out. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. At that moment, she inexplicably thought of Feng Ruobing's words from earlier. Could he really have fallen in love with another woman? Lan Xinyu stopped hesitating entirely and bolted forward at full speed toward Chen Xiaoyu's direction. When she finally reached the school gates, she saw Chen Xiaoyu walking alongside a gorgeous, elegant figure of a young woman. The two of them were chatting and laughing with each other. As they walked out of the academy together side by side, Lan Xinyu watched their retreating figures leave, as her tears streamed down uncontrollably without stopping. You're looking to rent a place? Jo Yuexian looked at me with a hint of surprise in her eyes, because a model, obedient good boy like me suddenly wanting to move out and live on his own came as a complete shock to her. Yeah, Jo Yuexian was the older sister of one of my classmates. Back then, she was the one who taught me how to swim. Sorry for the trouble, senior. I looked at the senior's confident, radiant smile and couldn't help but feel a tinge of envy toward her. After bidding farewell to the senior, the sky overhead had already darkened completely. Chen Xiaoyu sat alone on a park bench. Suddenly, his cell phone started ringing loudly. Seeing that it was Mom Linyu calling, he directly rejected and hung up the phone. Yet the phone kept ringing continuously without stopping. Chen Xiaoyu grew somewhat annoyed and impatient, so he turned off his phone entirely and leaned back against the bench with his eyes half closed. A long time ago in the past, I once ran away from home on a whim. I hid out in the place where I used to play all the time, thinking my parents would come looking and find me very soon. Yet in the end, I didn't even catch a glimpse of their shadows, until I was finally so starved that I had no choice but to walk back home. Thinking back on all of this, a wave of bitter, aching sorrow flooded through my heart. I genuinely don't understand. If you guys disliked me this much from the start, why on earth did you bother bringing me into this world to begin with? Back at home, Linyu dialed the mobile number over and over again, but call after call went unanswered with no one picking up. Feeling helpless, Linyu suddenly thought of something and frantically started searching through her contact list. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lan Xinyu was still obsessing over who that person by Chen Xiaoyu's side was. Just who on earth could it be? Right at that moment, her phone suddenly rang out. It was Chen Lin's sister Xinyu. Do you happen to know where my big bro is right now? Your big bro hasn't gone back home yet. Hearing that, Lan Xinyu immediately thought of that mysterious woman from earlier. Then, gritting her teeth in frustration, she said out of spite and jealousy, who knows, maybe he's out on a date with some woman somewhere. Sister Xinyu, you have no idea. Early this morning, my big bro got into a massive screaming fight with my dad. After hanging up the phone, Lan Xinyu remained unsettled for a long time. She had no idea that Chen Xiaoyu was dealing with such heavy things. Lan Xinyu's heart suddenly clenched tightly into a knot. Why hadn't she been able to notice and realize it sooner? Lance Xinyu changed into a new outfit and rushed hurriedly out the front door. The streets outside were empty and desolate. Lan Xinyu searched around for a very long time, without managing to find even a shred of a clue anywhere. She checked the places Chen Xiaoyu loved to visit the most, and also went to the spots Chen Xiaoyu usually preferred to hang out at. None of them had any trace of him. Lan Xinyu's mind was an absolute mess of panic and anxiety at this point. Just then, Chen Lin called her up again on the phone, asking if she had any news yet. Lan Xinyu shook her head, and then suddenly thought of something crucial. She hurriedly hung up the phone and sprinted in a rush toward the direction of the seaside. In the distance, she caught sight of a familiar figure, and just as she was about to walk over, she saw another figure instead, already walking right up to Chen Xiaoyu's side. Lan Xinyu wasn't seeing things. It was that exact same woman again. Her tears instantly surged and poured out uncontrollably. Here she was breaking her back, searching everywhere for him with all her might. Yet he was out here on a date with some other woman. Lan Xinyu sobbed and turned to run away in despair. Her phone rang with another incoming call from Chen Lin. She didn't even stop to think and just rejected and hung it up immediately. After Jo Yuexian brought you inside her place, with a solemn, serious expression she began interrogating me. I instinctively stood up out of reflex. Jo Yuexian slapped her hand down lightly onto the top of your head. You've already made it here and you still want to bail and run off. Where on earth do you think you can go this late at night? I want to go back home. If you actually wanted to go back home, you wouldn't be wandering the streets planning to spend the night outdoors, would you? Just stay right here and make yourself at home. Otherwise, Senior is going to get genuinely angry at you. I don't want to cause trouble for you guys. Senior isn't afraid of any trouble at all. Chen Xiaoyu felt an inexplicable wave of bitter heartache wash over him. All right, spill it and come clean with your problems now. Can I choose not to talk about it? What do you think? Chen Xiaoyu let out a soft, helpless sigh, and finally opened up, revealing his real situation. Jo Yuexian froze right where she stood in stunned silence. Around the corner, a water glass slipped from someone's hand and smashed, shattering all over the floor into pieces. A male student stood there with his mouth wide open in shock, staring blankly and dumbfoundedly at Chen Xiaoyu. Shichuolin, there must be some kind of mistake here, right? How on earth could something like this possibly be true? Recovering his senses a moment later, he spoke up with a voice full of agitation and disbelief. Let's go back to the hospital and get another checkup done right now. There's no way it must be some kind of huge mistake. The reason I never wanted any of you to find out about this was precisely because I was worried it would hurt and upset you guys. Are you really truly certain about this? There's only the last 3 months left now, and I just want to live out these final 3 months peacefully and well, we promise to be brothers for life. Have you completely forgotten everything we ever said to each other? He shook Chen Xiaoyu's shoulders with violent intensity. As tears streamed down his cheeks and dripped off his jaw, I forcibly held back the suffocating ache in my chest. We can be brothers in the next life too. Juolin shook his head in absolute helplessness and despair, and stumbled backward in a pathetic retreat, watching this heartbreaking scene unfold. Zhou Yuexian couldn't hold back her own tears either, letting them fall freely. Inside the classroom the very next morning, the head homeroom teacher tapped sharply against Chen Xiaoyu's desk. Chen Xiaoyu, come with me to the office right now. Without waiting, she turned and strode out the door. The students inside the classroom stared at the scene with strange shifting gazes. Most of the people present here had already received phone calls from the head teacher the night before and knew all about what happened last evening. I'll be right back. I shook my head toward him reassuringly. Stepping into the teacher's office, several other faculty members were present as well. And apart from the teachers, there was one other person waiting inside. None other than Chen Xiaoyu's own father, Chen Shou. Chen Shou's face was as dark as pitch at this moment, looking as though he had suffered through some deeply humiliating disgrace. Seeing him there, Chen Xiaoyu instinctively flinched and tensed up, before letting out a self-deprecating bitter chuckle to himself. Back in the past, whenever there was a parent-teacher conference, he would always be absent. Yet now he actually went out of his way to take time off and show up. How utterly ironic. You didn't go home yesterday evening. Where on earth did you go? And what kind of things were you doing out there? I was hanging out with Zhou Yuexian. Chen Xiaoyu, you need to tell the teacher the absolute truth right now. What on earth is actually going on here? I just shook my head slightly and chose not to continue explaining or saying anything more. Chen Xiu abruptly slammed his hands down and stood straight up, right there in front of all the teachers. Why aren't you hurrying up and telling the honest truth right now? Teacher, you might not know this, but right now he seems to have suddenly changed into an entirely different person. Not only is he full of lies and deceit, he also talks back and defies us at every turn. I need to teach him a harsh lesson right now and force him to thoroughly correct his bad attitude. Mr. Chen, please calm down and take a breath. Seeing the other teachers turning their heads to look over, the head teacher raised a hand to signal Chen Shu to tone it down. Chen Xiao shot Chen Xiaoyu a furious, angry glare, before finally sitting back down in his chair. Do you still refuse to say anything? I have nothing left to say to you guys. I gave a slight shake of my head. If Chen Xiao hadn't been here right now, I might have actually considered explaining the situation, but with him standing here, I didn't want to say a single word. The head teacher let out a soft, helpless sigh, and motioned with a wave of her hand as two figures slowly walked in through the doorway. It turned out to be Li Zhenan and Lan Xinyu. Last night, Li Zhenan reported seeing you hanging out together with some girl, and acting all cozy and affectionate with each other. Do you admit to this or not? Teacher, this is something I witnessed with my own two eyes. At the time when you called me up on the phone, I went out to search for him as well. Only I didn't expect that when I finally tracked him down. I discovered Chen Xiaoyu hanging out with a girl, and their behavior was super intimate and close. That's precisely why yesterday's chaotic scene happened in the first place. I happened to see Lan Jinyu there at the scene too. She must have seen it as well and can serve as a witness. The head teacher shifted her gaze toward Lan Xinyu. At that exact moment, I looked over at Lan Xinyu too. We had spent a fair amount of time getting along and knowing each other. If Li Zhenan didn't understand me at all, Lan Xinyu surely couldn't be completely clueless about my character either. With a stiff, straight face, Lan Xinyu seemed to deliberately avoid meeting Chen Xiaoyu's eyes, and gave a slow nod of confirmation. Yes, teacher. I saw it happen back then too, because the sky outside was already quite dark. I didn't see everything all that clearly. However, I could still tell for sure that Chen Xiaoyu was extremely intimate with a certain girl, and that it definitely wasn't any ordinary relationship. I let out a bitter, self-deprecating chuckle, and right at that moment, Chen Shu couldn't hold himself back from standing up again. So that's what was actually going on this whole time. Is this how I usually raised and taught you? Is this how you choose to repay all my hard work? I break my back working my ass off day and night to earn money so you can go to school. And you actually go out and pull this kind of disgraceful stunt. No wonder you've been acting so weird and suspicious lately. Mr. Chen Shou breathed heavily, panting with ragged breaths, gritting his teeth in pure unadulterated rage, yet catching the stern look in the head teacher's eyes. He forced his jaw to clamp shut, and sat back down with an extremely ugly expression on his face. The head teacher turned her gaze toward Li Zhenan and Lan Xinyu. You two need to be absolutely certain about this. Accusations of this nature have a massive, devastating impact on a student's reputation and future. I'm 100% certain Li Zhenan blurted out without a second thought of hesitation, while Lan Xinyu hesitated for a brief moment before giving a heavy, decisive nod of her head. Right at that exact second, Juolin's figure pushed her way into the office looking somewhat disheveled and frantic. Appearing rather flustered and messy, That's not right, teacher. Yesterday, Chen Xiaoyu was actually hanging out with me. The whole time, Lan Xinyu, you usually get along quite well with Chen Xiaoyu yourself. You should know his character inside out. He's not the kind of person who would ever do something like this, nor would he ever casually bring trouble or burden onto others like that. Isn't that right? Lan Xinyu's mind echoed with the bitter memories of last night's scene. She gritted her teeth hard and retorted, "You can know a person's face, but not their heart." I witnessed it with my own eyes. Seeing this, Jolin got so furious she almost cursed them out right on the spot. Li Shennan also glanced over, sneering Jolin. "I know you're Chen Xiaoyu's best friend and all, but that doesn't mean you should cover for him and blindly help him lie like this." "You fucking," Jolin snapped, before the head teacher's warning voice cut her off. Jolin reluctantly clamped her mouth shut and backed down. The head teacher fixed her steady gaze directly onto me. "Chen Xiaoyu, why don't you tell the teacher your side of the story? You don't need to worry or feel pressured. Just be completely honest and tell the teacher the truth. No matter what the issue is, the school will do its best to investigate and verify everything thoroughly. We will never wrongfully accuse or treat any innocent person unfairly." Hearing the head teacher's reassuring words, everyone else in the room turned their heads to look over one after another, and unanimously locked their eyes tightly onto Chen Xiaoyu. I glanced at them all one by one, feeling an indescribable bitter knot of mixed emotions in my chest. By this point in time, I had stopped having any expectations for so many things in life. Yet looking at my former friends and seeing my own Faye, they're glaring at me with the fierce hostility of a sworn enemy. I still couldn't suppress a deep stinging ache in my heart. All I wanted was to peacefully live out these final 3 months of mine. It turns out, even that simple wish was still too much of an extravagant luxury. "Teacher, I have nothing more to say. Whatever they saw is the absolute truth." I drew in a deep breath to steady myself, hearing those words spill from my mouth. Li Jianen's face lit up with a triumphant, excited look, while both Chenshu and Lan Xinyu displayed expressions of profound disappointment. Chenshu's eyes bulged wide open in rage as he swung his fist and charged forward like a madman. Why would you do this?" The head teacher reacted with lightning speed and stepped right into the middle, blocking his path with her arms outstretched. With a face twisted in raging fury, Chenshu shouted, "Teacher, step aside. I swear I'm going to teach this ungrateful idiot a severe lesson today." No wonder his personality suddenly flipped out of nowhere overnight. So it turns out this is what was really going on all along. Refusing to learn anything proper and good, and instead picking up this toxic, corrupt trash to ruin his life watch. If I don't beat the living daylights out of him today, my name isn't Chen. Seeing the commotion, the surrounding teachers rushed over one after another to talk him down and pull him back. Only then did Chen Shou stop, his face flushed red with humiliation and anger. Today's events were simply too disgraceful and humiliating for him to bear. He felt almost too ashamed to keep standing in this room. Meanwhile, Lan Xinyu stared fixedly at Chen Xiaoyu, her face etched with heavy, crushing disappointment, and her heart weighed down by deep depression. She never could have imagined in her wildest dreams that the person who used to swear up and down that he loved her and promised to always protect her would turn around and do this kind of shameful thing in the blink of an eye. He was just way too disappointing. Emerging from the teacher's office into the hallway, Jolin looked at me perplexed. "Why didn't you tell them the honest truth? What's even the point of explaining? I only have this little bit of time left anyway. I don't want to waste my breath like I used to in the past, trying desperately to beg for understanding and explain myself. They are definitely going to regret this down the road. What they feel or do from now on is something I've completely lost interest in." I let out a faint smile and shook my head. Just as the two of us were talking, Li Jianen and Lan Xinyu walked up from behind. Li Shennan glanced over at me. "Chen Xiaoyu, don't blame me for this. I'm just doing this for your own good so you don't stray onto the wrong path." You fucking Jolin looked like a lit powder keg ready to explode. She rushed forward and grabbed Li Jianen by the collar, hoisting him up. Li Jianen struggled anxiously with panic. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Jolin, just like me, had trained in martial arts and combat. She had a solid foundation of moves that he simply couldn't beat or match. "Forget it, let him go." Jolin released her grip unwillingly and with extreme reluctance, and stared coldly down at Li Jianen. "Don't think for a second I don't know what's going on inside that twisted head of yours. Aren't you just insanely jealous of Chen Xiaoyu? You don't have the guts to use any fair or square methods. So all you know how to do is pull some cheap scummy tricks. You piece of trash, do you even deserve to talk?" Li Jianan's face turned alternating shades of green and white from humiliation. Jolin shoved him away directly with a hard push, and losing his balance completely, Li Jianan tumbled down and landed pathetically on the floor. "I thought you were supposed to be the person who understood Chen Xiaoyu the best out of everyone. You are truly utterly disappointing to the absolute core." Lan Xinyu felt an unexplainable wave of bitter grievance wash over her, thinking that she was actually the one who had been betrayed and wronged. She glared back at Jolene with fierce indignation. I thought I was the one who understood him best too. But I was wrong. The one who was wrong the whole time was me. Now that Chen Xiaoyu is in such a terrible state, the person who supposedly understood him best on a normal day has instead chosen to stand directly on his opposite side as an enemy. You're going to regret this down the road. I know myself inside and out. I will never regret a thing over someone like him. Lan Xinyu felt deep down that the single most regretful thing she had ever done in her life was falling in love with a guy like this. He was just way too disappointing. Let's go. I pulled on Jolin's arm as she turned around to leave. Watching Chen Xiaoyu's unyielding, resolute, retreating figure, Lan Xinyu clenched her delicate white fists tightly together, while the grievance in her heart burned even deeper. Clearly the one who messed up and did wrong was him. So why on earth is it me who has to suffer this much agony? I am never going to regret this. Not now, not ever. Lan Xinyu stared fixedly at their retreating figures out of sheer spite and stubbornness. As the final after-school dismissal bell rang out, Chen Yaoyu and Jolene walked out of the classroom together. The students left behind in the classroom broke into whispering and heated discussion. What on earth is actually going on with Chen Xiaoyu? He's not even going back home to his own house anymore? Chen Xiaoyu doesn't seem like the kind of person who would do this. Could you guys have made some kind of mistake? I heard that getting caught up in something like this means getting disciplined by the school administration. You guys better not spread rumors and talk nonsense. Li Zhenin abruptly stood up from his seat, watching the retreating figures vanish out the doorway. He sneered coldly and said, I witnessed it with my own eyes. You can know a person's face, but not their heart. None of you actually know what he's really like underneath. Hearing those pointed words, the rest of the class stopped saying anything more in defense. While Lan Xinyu stared blankly and dazed toward the direction of the doorway, she hadn't been able to process or listen to a single class all day long. Xinyu, what's wrong with you? Feng Robing asked with a hint of concern in her voice. Startled back to her senses, Lan Xinyu snapped out of it. She quickly packed up her belongings into her bag in a rush and bolted out the classroom door at top speed. I've got something to take care of today. I'm heading home first. Seeing Lan Xinyu's frantic behavior, the people left in the classroom were once again taken aback. Lan Xinyu has been acting super weird and unusual today too. Over on the street corner, Jolene waved her hand in greeting as Zhou Yuexian walked over with a warm, welcoming smile. Today, Zhou Yuexian was dressed in a light blue dress, wearing fluffy, cozy boots on her feet, making her look both gentle and breathtakingly beautiful. Senior is still as polite and courteous as ever. Being polite with your seniors. What kind of nonsense is that, bro? How is she treating my dorm? Is she even my real biological older sister? She treats Chen Xiaoyu way better than she treats me. I checked around and found out about 2 places that are both really nice. They aren't too far away from the school campus either. And the rent prices are super affordable and reasonable. We can head over right now and check them out together. Now, it just depends on which side Chen Xiaoyu prefers more. I already had them keep both of those apartments vacant for us. Thank you so much. All the scholarship money I've saved up over these past few years is stored on a single card. This cash should be more than enough to cover my living expenses for the next few months. So here you go again, Zhou Yuexian playfully ruffled my hair with casual affection, which immediately triggered another round of complaints and jealousy from Jolin. Meanwhile, over in another hidden corner of the street, Lan Xinyu watched this scene unfold right before her eyes, biting her red lips tightly, as her tears couldn't help but fall down drop by drop. Just now, it was as if she had been possessed by a ghost following them all the way here. Seeing this cozy scene right in front of her, she felt like a complete utter fool. Clearly everything was already beyond any doubt or dispute. So why on earth did she still follow them here anyway? They were simply colluding and sticking together all along. He totally deserved to get disciplined and punished by the school. Lan Xinyu choked back a sob as tears welled up. Right then, the figures ahead slowly began to move away. And as if driven by a strange impulse, Lan Xinyu followed right after them again. I am such a total idiot. Watching the group walk along chatting and laughing together, she leaned helplessly against the trunk of a tree right outside the apartment building, while a wave of bitter grievance welled up in her heart. Clearly knowing what kind of person he really was by now, in the end she still desperately wanted to believe in him anyway. I really am a complete fool. You're Lan Xinyu, right? My name is Zhou Yuexian. How did you know it was me? You look so pretty and gorgeous. And you've been tailing behind us the entire way here. I figured it had to be you. Having her secret motives called out and exposed so directly, Lan Xinyu lowered her head in defeat and turned around wanting to walk away immediately. Don't you want to know what we came all the way out here to do? As soon as those words left Zhou Yuexian's mouth, Lan Xinyu instantly froze in her tracks and stopped moving. Yet she refused to lower her pride and admit it just like that. What else could you possibly be doing? Doing some kind of shady, shameful things behind closed doors? Chen Xiaoyu is moving out of his family home for good, so he asked me to help him find a place to rent. It seems he got into a massive fight with his family members. He had nowhere to go last night and was planning to spend the night out on the chilly streets. Jolin and I were the ones who brought him back home with us. Speaking up to this point, Zhou Yuexian glanced over at her, looking at the state you're in right now. You guys must have gotten into a huge fight or misunderstanding. You should really sit down and communicate properly with each other. Was it really just like that? Considering your relationship with him, you should be the person who understands Chen Xiaoyu better than anyone else. What kind of things would he do? And what kind of things would I do? Aren't you the one who knows him best? Lan Xinyu's face flushed bright red all over in embarrassment. She suddenly felt like she was utterly detestable. She wandered aimlessly down the bustling street in a daze, moving like a soulless mechanical robot. How could things turn out like this? It's completely impossible. I clearly witnessed it with my own eyes back then. Why did everything end up twisting into this state? Lan Xinyu recalled Zhuolin's words from earlier and thought back to what Zhou Yuexian had just told her. She felt as if she had been heavily struck by a sledgehammer in the chest. You should be the person who understands Chen Xiaoyu best. You should be the person who understands Chen Xiaoyu best. Lan Xinyu suddenly remembered something crucial in a flash and frantically fished her cell phone out of her school backpack. Chenlin, did your big bro get into a massive fight with his family? Yeah, Sister Xinyu, why do you ask what's wrong? Something feels completely wrong and messed up here. You already knew that your big bro was planning to move out of the house. Lan Xinyu's cell phone slipped right out of her trembling grip and crashed down onto the hard ground. Without pausing to think, Lan Xinyu bolted around and sprinted back at full speed. I need to apologize to Chen Xiaoyu. I have to tell Chen Xiaoyu that I was wrong. Out on the street corner, Zhuolin paused startled for a second upon seeing Lan Xinyu rush back before her. Expression turned ice cold. Where is Chen Xiaoyu right now? I want to find him. Lan Xinyu blurted out without a single second of hesitation. Zhuolin sneered with a sharp, sarcastic edge. Forget it and save it. An elite young miss like you is way out of our league. We can't afford to deal with you. You better drop this whole act and go away. I know I was wrong. I really truly want to find Chen Xiaoyu right now. Lan Xinyu's voice cracked with a heavy, weeping sob. As she thought to herself with agony, back then that was clearly the lowest and most agonizing moment of Chen Xiaoyu's life. Yet she hadn't managed to stand firmly by his side when he needed her most, and instead joined hands with others to suspect and doubt him. How utterly despairing and lonely must he have felt back then. Just leave us be. You guys were never meant to walk the same path. Lan Xinyu looked toward Zhou Yuexian with a pleading, desperate gaze. Senior, I'm so sorry. I'm begging you, please just tell me where Chen Xiaoyu is right now. Sis, don't bother telling her anything. Lan Xinyu lunged forward, desperately pleading in tears. Sister, I'm begging you. I just want to say I'm sorry to Chen Xiaoyu, that's all. Who's going to believe a word you say now? Before you swore up and down that you saw it with your own eyes. And now you're coming back here acting all hypocritical and fake. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Lan Yuan, apartment unit 303. Thanks, senior. Matters like this need to be resolved eventually anyway. Let them sort it out properly between themselves. Chen Xiaoyu had just sat down inside his new place when the doorbell suddenly rang out loudly. He originally thought it was Zhou Yuexian coming back. Opening the door, he discovered to his surprise that it was Lan Xinyu. I said coldly, "What are you doing here? You're looking to rent a place? What is it you even want to say? Why didn't you tell us about this beforehand? If you had just explained it, we all would have understood and supported you." I don't need any of that. My tone grew even more distant and indifferent. Lan Xinyu grew even more flustered and at a complete loss for what to do. She tried her absolute best to force herself to calm down. When on earth did things between us turn out like this? Why are you suddenly unwilling to tell me anything at all anymore? What on earth did you actually come here for today? Whether it was Lan Xinyu or even his own biological parents, none of them had ever truly trusted or believed in him from the start. So why on earth should he bother wasting his breath to explain anything to them? I'm so sorry I completely misunderstood you back then. I shouldn't have doubted you like that. I was just blinded by anger at the time. I'm sorry. No need to apologize. I don't expect or care for anyone to believe in me anyway. Lan Xinyu's heart gave another sharp stabbing twist of pain. Chen Xiaoyu's words felt like a stinging whip, lashing down heavily and mercilessly across her heart. Can't you please forgive me? Chen Xiaoyu suddenly let out a long sigh. Just go back home. The two of us don't have any kind of relationship anymore as of right now. There's no such thing as forgiving or not forgiving. Just being normal classmates to each other is more than enough. Are we really only ever going to be nothing more than classmates now? Yes? The sun sank slowly down below the western horizon. Lan Xinyu walked aimlessly down the darkening streets without any destination in mind. Every single word Chen Xiaoyu said cut like a sharp blade, stabbing deep into her chest over and over again. Thinking back on how she acted earlier, she felt so furious and regretful. She just wanted to slap herself across the face a few times. Lan Xinyu thought to herself with crushing agony. She should have been the person who understood Chen Xiaoyu best in this world. She should have been the person who understood Chen Xiaoyu best. Ring, ring, ring. At that moment, her phone started ringing loudly. Xinyu. I heard about what happened with Chen Xiaoyu. Could there be some kind of misunderstanding between you two? I heard that the situation regarding Chen Xiaoyu was reported up to the school administration, and the school has already officially issued a disciplinary penalty notice. So fast, what on earth actually happened? Did you end up misunderstanding something major? Lan Xinyu choked back a sob as she sniffled, too ashamed and embarrassed to say it out loud. You should really sit down and communicate properly with Chen Xiaoyu. Other people might not understand Chen Xiaoyu's character, but how could you not know what Chen Xiaoyu is really like? Those words sent another sharp pang straight through Lan Xinyu's heart. Normally, there are some things I shouldn't be telling you about, but I might as well take this opportunity to clear the air and tell you now. That club assignment project given to you previously? You probably thought it was us who helped you pull it off. Actually, that wasn't the case at all. We all had our own workloads and tasks to handle. We were so swamped we couldn't even keep up ourselves. It was Chen Xiaoyu who ran back and forth tirelessly and handled and finished everything for you behind the scenes all along. He was genuinely so good and devoted to you, even though he never put it into flashy words. His actions showed it clearly in every single way. If you guys have any sort of misunderstanding or conflict, you better resolve and clear it up as soon as possible. After hanging up the phone call, the more Lan Xinyu thought about it, the more agonizing it became, until she finally squatted down right there on the sidewalk and sobbed out loud. Chen Xiaoyu treated me so well all this time, yet in the end I was the one who failed to choose to believe in Chen Xiaoyu. After ending her call, Chen Lin ran over to Lin Yu in a flustered panic. Mom, this is bad. It looks like Big Bro is about to get a disciplinary punishment from the school. What's going on? It seems they're saying Big Bro was misunderstood, mistakenly accused of being in a secret relationship, and now he's facing an official school penalty. What are we gonna do? This must be because of something Dad said or did. I'm gonna track him down and demand a clear answer right now. Not long after Chen Chou walked back home, his face flushed red, with reeking alcohol on his breath. What's wrong? Why are you in such a frantic rush to call me back home? Chen Xiaoyu is about to get disciplined by the school? Did you know anything about this happening? I know all about it. I'm the one who urged the school administration to follow up on this. They definitely need to hand down a severe heavy punishment to teach him a real lesson and show him he can't get away with it. Why on earth would you go and do something like that? Do you even have any idea what he went and did? I've always wanted him to grow up to be an upright, an independent man who stands tall against the world. Yet look at him, he refuses to learn anything proper or good. Right now, he's out there copying others and getting into romantic relationships. So, do you even realize he refuses to even come back home anymore just to chase after a romance and is planning to move out and live on his own? I absolutely will not allow this kind of reckless behavior. If he still doesn't wake up and correct his ways, I'm going to use even harsher, stricter methods to deal with him. I refuse to believe he can ever fly out of the palm of my hand. A sharp slap left 5 distinct finger marks heavily printed across Chen Shou's face. Chen Xiaoyu was not in any romantic relationship. It was just a misunderstanding caused by his classmates. That girl was simply helping him look for a place to rent. Those people have already cleared up the whole situation. Impossible. He himself admitted to it right there in front of everyone. Stop making up wild stories just to cover for him and wash away his faults. Don't you realize you're only harming him by doing this? In the past, whatever you said or did, I supported you unconditionally without a second thought. Yet right now, I finally realize how wrong I was all along. You are simply way too stubborn and paranoid. Whatever you believe in, you always assume you're completely right about everything. You never have the humility to admit when you're in the wrong. Why are you even bringing all of this up right now? None of that has anything to do with what's happening right now. Just a moment ago, Chen Xiaoyu's classmate called us on the phone and explained the entire real situation in detail. If you have doubts, you can go and confirm it with his head homeroom teacher yourself. Hearing Lin Yu bring this up here, Chen Shou finally cracked his expression, shifting in shock. Then why on earth did he confess to it? He clearly admitted to it with his own mouth. Just what kind of things have you done to him over the years? With a father like you? Would fighting back and arguing even make any difference to him? What else could it possibly be? Our son only has a few short months left to live in this world. He stopped caring about petty things like this a long time ago. No, that's impossible. There's no way that's true. Dad, what time do you think it is right now? Hurry up and call Big Bro's teacher on the phone. See if there's still any way we can fix this and take it back, please. Chen Shou frantically fumbled to pull his cell phone out of his pocket. Made a phone call. Hello, teacher, I am Chen Xiaoyu's dad. I want to verify what happened today. What do you mean it could be a misunderstanding? How could this happen? He himself also admitted it, right? How did it turn out like this? What do you mean you don't know either? Teacher, what should we do now? Can the disciplinary action still be revoked now? He is still a student. Now is his prime time. Can't let things that didn't exist ruining his future. Although it was my strict demand. But didn't this matter not exist? The disciplinary action has been issued, cannot be revoked. What kind of reason is this? Could it be because of this kind of reason affecting a child's whole life? Teacher, please help think of a way. This kind of thing has a huge impact on him. Hung up the phone. Chenshu's lips turned pale. How could this happen? I was clearly doing it for his own good. The sky brightened. Chen Xiaoyu slowly got up, habitually checking the time, reaching out to grab his clothes. Even though today's Saturday, wait, I've already moved out? Why still follow all these rigid rules? Chen Xiaoyu snapped back to reality, casually tossed his clothes away, playing a song on his phone. I'm not going to work tomorrow. Then comfortably lay back down. By the time he got up, it was already 12 o'clock. Chen Xiaoyu lazily washed up, went outside to grab a bite to eat. After finishing his meal, Chen Xiaoyu went to the supermarket, bought some simple daily necessities. Besides daily necessities, he also needed to buy a few outfits. After finishing all this, it was already 2 o'clock when he got home. Chen Xiaoyu didn't thoroughly clean yesterday. If he properly tidied and cleaned up today, he could officially move in for good. After bustling around, it was already 5 p.m. Yet right now, Chen Xiaoyu suddenly felt a strange, inexplicable sense of fulfillment and achievement wash over him. Ring, ring, ring. The cell phone suddenly rang out loud. Chen Xiaoyu glanced down at the caller ID display and connected the incoming call. My dear son, Chen Xiaoyu, Mom had no idea about those things your dad went and did behind our backs. Mom is taking his place right here to sincerely apologize to you. All right, got it, Chen Xiaoyu replied. Actually, your dad just had a big misunderstanding. He doesn't harbor any malicious intent toward you at all. Deep down, he has always cared about you a lot. Okay, listening to Chen Xiaoyu's perfunctory brushing off tone, Lin Yu felt a sharp pang of heartache in her chest. She suddenly recalled how things used to be. Back when Chen Xiaoyu used to face them in the past, always wearing an eager, hopeful look on his face, trying to please them. Are you mad and upset with us? Hearing that unexpected question, Chen Xiaoyu fell into a brief moment of dazed silence. Be mad at them. It felt like they had never once bothered to care about his feelings or mood in their lives, right? Since when did they ever start caring enough to ask if he was mad? Nope, not at all. If you have any thoughts or grievances on your mind, you can always talk them over with Mom, you know? Mom will listen carefully and take your feelings to heart. No need. It seems like whenever you have things on your mind, you're never willing to share them with Mom. That's not the case at all. Mom, you're just overthinking things for no reason. Chen Xiaoyu thought to himself with a cold smile. There are some words that as a son, he simply has no way of speaking out loud. And the most important point of all is that now that things have reached this stage, saying anything at all doesn't carry much necessity or meaning anymore. Back in the past, how come they never once asked him these things? The other end of the line fell into a brief, heavy silence. Chen Xiaoyu even thought the phone call was about to be hung up, when her voice came through the speaker once more. Oh, right. Didn't you mention before that you missed Grandma? How about the two of us go visit Grandma's place sometime these next couple of days? Before Chen Xiaoyu could even get a word in, Mom continued eagerly this time. It'll just be us and your younger sister going. She's probably been wanting to go see Grandma too. All right, fine. I thought to myself, Grandma called me on the phone some time ago and told me that she missed me a little bit. At that time, I had brought up wanting to go visit Grandma. Only neither Dad nor Mom had taken it seriously at all. And later on, with all those chaotic events happening back to back, I ended up pushing this matter to the back of my mind and completely ignoring it. Standing right outside the convenience store entrance, I had my everyday school backpack slung over my shoulders. My overall vibe and aura were actually pretty decent. Walking down the busy street corner, passers-by couldn't help but turn their heads to sneak a second look at me. After a short while of waiting, a sleek red compact car pulled up and stopped right in front of me. Lin Yu stepped out from the driver's seat. Xiaoyu, what kind of snacks or food do you want to eat? Mom will go into the store and buy them for you right now. No need, thanks. Chen Xiaoyu wasn't quite used to or comfortable with Mom acting in such an unusually warm and enthusiastic manner, so he opened the rear passenger door and slid into the back seat instead. In the back, Chen Lin was sitting quietly off to the side, wearing a small backpack on her back, with an expression that looked somewhat anxious and worried. Unlike how she treated Chen Xiaoyu, Grandma had always gotten along quite well with Chen Xiaoyu. Yet Grandma tended to be rather cold and distant toward everyone else, even including Chen Lin herself. Because of that, this younger sister was actually secretly terrified that Grandma might. Seeing Chen Xiaoyu step into the car, Chen Lin greeted him in a soft, timid voice. Big bro. Chen Xiaoyu gave a slight nod of acknowledgement. and sat quietly off to the side without saying much. The car engine started up smoothly, and after weaving through the city's asphalt roads for a short while, they finally drove out past the city limits. Grandma lived out in a rural countryside village quite a distance away from the city center. If you drove straight there, it would take roughly a 2-hour journey by car. Along the entire drive, Lin Yu enthusiastically kept asking about Chen Xiaoyu's current life and situation. While Chen Xiaoyu replied lazily with half-hearted perfunctory answers, outside the car window, 2 rows of roadside trees flashed past in a continuous blur. Perhaps reminded by this exact scenery and moment in time, Chen Xiaoyu's memories surged forward like a rushing tide. Back when I was roughly about 10 years old, I suppose. That period happened to be right in the middle of summer vacation. Mom and Dad were extremely busy with their work schedules and didn't have any spare time to look after or take care of me. So they dropped me off to stay by Grandpa's side, asking Grandpa to help look after me for the break. As for my younger sister, she tagged along with Dad over to his workplace office instead, where he could manage to keep an eye on her whenever he had a spare moment. However, since the summer break lasted a full 30 days long, Dad was also worried about wearing Grandpa out with too much trouble. So after half a month had already passed, Mom brought me over here to stay with my maternal grandparents instead. Back during those days, Grandpa was still alive and well. I was at that time. My relationship with my grandparents gradually grew closer and stronger. During the summer vacations that followed, most of my time was spent keeping Grandpa company, or else staying with my grandma and grandpa. As time went on and I grew older, I gained enough independence and autonomy on my own, and no longer needed Mom and Dad to pick me up or drop me off everywhere. However, back when I was 12 years old, Grandpa passed away, leaving only Grandma behind by herself. So I ended up spending even more time keeping Grandma company and looking after her. Thinking back to Grandpa, Chen Xiaoyu was once again filled with a heavy wave of sorrow and guilt. If back then Big Brother Chenlin's voice drifted into his ears, pulling Chen Xiaoyu back to his senses from his deep thoughts, Lin Yu and Chen Lin both looked over toward him, and Chen Xiaoyu finally realized that without him noticing, time had flown by, and they had already arrived at their destination. Chen Xiaoyu pushed open the car door and stepped out. Mom, we've arrived. Lin Yu parked the car properly, and walking inward from the outdoor courtyard, she called out loudly toward the house. An elderly woman with hair as white as snow walked out from inside the house, bearing about a 50% resemblance to Lin Yu, and also appearing somewhat plump in build, with a face covered entirely in wrinkles, clearly looking to be well over 60 years old. This elderly matriarch was none other than Grandma Zhang Huaxian. Upon catching sight of Lin Yu, Zhang Huaxian gave a cold, indifferent nod of acknowledgement, without saying a single extra word to her. Only when Grandma laid eyes on Chen Xiaoyu did a faint trace of a genuine smile finally appear across her face. She stepped forward and spoke affectionately, "My child, it's only been a short while since we last saw each other. How come you've lost so much weight?" "I'm doing all right, Grandma. Come inside." Acting completely as if she hadn't even noticed Lin Yu and Chen Lin standing behind them. Seeing this, Chen Lin whispered timidly, "Mom, it kind of feels like Grandma doesn't really like me very much." "Of course not. She's grown a bit cold and distant over these past few years. It has nothing to do with you at all. Though Grandma treats your big brother a bit differently. That's probably because your big brother spent a lot more time staying with Grandma and keeping her company in the past." Stepping inside the house, Zhang Huaxian pulled Chen Xiaoyu down to sit right beside her. The house still featured that exact same old 8 Immortals dining table. Everything inside looked pretty much unchanged from how it used to be, yet Chen Xiaoyu could still faintly sense and notice that Grandma was talking a lot more than she used to in the past, while also appearing somewhat more haggard and worn out than before, which gave him a vague, uneasy feeling in his gut. "Mom, we're planning to stay over here for these next couple of days. I'll go clean up the rooms in a moment, so you guys can settle in and stay comfortably." After chatting for a little while longer, Chen Xiaoyu stood up from his seat. "Grandma, I'm going to go visit Grandpa for a bit." He stood up with practiced familiarity and dug out some traditional paper ingots and funeral money, along with other ritual paper offerings from the kitchen storage, before grabbing a bundle of incense sticks and handing them directly to Chen Xiaoyu. "Go on ahead. Your grandpa has probably been missing you a lot too." Hearing the two of them exchange those words, Lin Yu's expression shifted, turning uncertain and shadowed, though very quickly she let out a long, heavy sigh and muttered softly to herself, "Whatever happened in the past is already in the past. We might as well just let it go." Out in the village, there was a small, quiet hillside, which served as the resting place of Grandpa's graveyard. This specific spot was chosen by Grandpa himself while he was still alive. He had said that even after death he wanted to stay close to Grandma, so she wouldn't have to feel lonely or sad. Chen Xiaoyu stayed up there on the hill for over an hour straight, and only when the time grew late did he finally walk back down the mountain path with lingering reluctance. Unlike his mom and dad, Whether it was his grandpa, grandma, or maternal grandparents, they had always treated him with genuine warmth and kindness. It was only when facing these elderly family members that Chen Xiaoyu truly felt like he had someone dependable to lean on in life. Were you crying again? Chen Xiaoyu gave a soft shake of his head, as Zhang Huaxian gently tapped Chen Xiaoyu lightly on the head. You're always doing this every single time you come. I've told you before that what happened to your grandpa wasn't your fault at all. Chen Xiaoyu only managed a forced bitter smile in response, while Linyu lowered her head in silence. Perhaps if it weren't for their son's current critical condition, the deep-seated barriers and resentment in her heart still couldn't have been easily erased. Mom, what's actually going on here? Children shouldn't ask so many questions about adult matters. Chenlin pulled back timidly and gave a cautious reply. As evening rolled around, Grandma prepared a massive spread of dishes covering the entire table. Without exception, every single dish was one of Chen Xiaoyu's absolute favorite foods. Gazing down at this hearty table of home-cooked food, Chen Xiaoyu felt another sharp wave of heartache twist in his chest. Perhaps it was precisely during moments like this that his heart became exceptionally fragile and sensitive. Come to think of it, back when I used to visit my grandparents' house in the past, I was always just as reserved and restrained as I was back at my own home, eating whatever happened to be served on the table, and never daring to speak up about what foods I actually liked or wanted to eat. Yet Grandpa pulled me aside and told me to just say whatever I wanted to eat without holding back, and slowly coaxed these true preferences right out of my mouth. Ever since that time onward, Grandpa and Grandma always remembered everything about what specific dishes and foods I loved the most, buying ingredients and cooking every meal based precisely on what I enjoyed eating. Grandpa told me that spending money like this was the only way to make it truly worthwhile. Mom, do you miss Dad? Linyu looked across this table full of delicious food and sighed with deep emotion, while Zhang Huaxian let out a slight flash of displeasure. Just eat your meal and stop talking so much at the table. Linyu was already quite used to this habitual attitude of her mother's, so she didn't think much of it, and began eating her food with a complicated heavy mix of emotions inside. Meanwhile, little sis was also digging into the meal enthusiastically off to the side. Even though Grandma wasn't particularly fond of sweets, in her cherished childhood memories, the food cooked by Grandma had always tasted the absolute best in the world. Grandma's house wasn't particularly large in size, featuring just one utility storage room and 2 main bedrooms. Back in the old days, Chen Xiaoyu used to share the exact same bedroom sleeping quarters with his grandparents. Now that there were 4 people staying over, Grandma ended up sharing a bedroom with Chen Xiaoyu, while Linyu and Chen Lin shared the other room together. Yet right here in this cozy place, Chen Xiaoyu felt a rare long-lost sense of belonging and warmth, and his heart felt remarkably grounded and at peace. Lying down resting on the bed, Zhang Huaxian asked softly, "My child, did something heavy happen to you recently? You seem somewhat down and lacking your usual energy. Why would Grandma say something like that out of nowhere? I don't know. Grandma just has this strong feeling that something isn't right, and it's making my heart feel uneasy. Grandma, stop overthinking things for no reason," Chen Xiaoyu said with a reassuring smile. Coming to visit Grandma's house this time had filled his heart with genuine excitement, yet it also carried a deep underlying fear. The thing he dreaded most was Grandma picking up on something and asking about these painful matters. If Grandma were to ever find out the harsh truth about all of this, how much agony and grief would it cause her? It's good if nothing's wrong. As long as you're fine, that's all that matters. As people get older, their minds tend to get a bit more sensitive and fragile. I was just feeling a bit worried inside. There's no need to worry at all, Grandma. I'm doing totally fine. All of us are going to be living well and healthy. Right, Grandma will definitely stay healthy and well. Chen Xiaoyu felt an inexplicable wave of heartache tighten in his chest. His current situation suddenly reminded him vividly of Grandpa. He still remembered how during those final few days, Grandpa had also been saying those exact same kinds of things to him. It felt eerily similar to someone giving their final parting instructions before passing on. This suffocating feeling filled him with a level of panic and unease he had never experienced before in his life. Over in the other bedroom, Chen Lin was lying flat on the wooden bedboard, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep no matter how hard she tried. "Mom, what's wrong?" "Grandma, she looks like she's gotten so much more haggard and worn out than before. Stop overthinking things for no reason. Everyone naturally gets like that once they reach old age." Linyu's body trembled with a subtle quiver that was barely perceptible. As she spoke in a muffled, heavy tone, hearing Mom say that, Chen Lin decided not to dwell or linger on that topic any further. She glanced sideways at Mom's profile in the dim light and whispered, "Grandma didn't make those dishes for Grandpa today, did she?" Every single one of those dishes was actually what Big Bro loves to eat the most. So that was what was really going on all along. Linyu's lips parted slightly in shock, as a powerful wave of suffocating guilt instantly surged straight up into her heart. So that was the real reason behind it all? Chen Xiaoyu suffered from severe insomnia that night. Throughout the entire night, Chen Xiaoyu's mind raced through countless thoughts, from the very first time he came to visit his grandparents' house, to remembering the tragic circumstances surrounding Grandpa's passing, thinking about how Grandma had spent all these years living in a depressed, gloomy state, and realizing how true it is that some things in life are destined to only be truly appreciated and valued after they've already been lost. He felt a surge of unprecedented anxiety and suffocating fear, making him even more terrified to ever reveal the cruel truth of the situation to Grandma. Grandma still woke up bright and early as she always did. The older generation in the countryside always went to bed early and rose with the sun, always feeling restless all over if they didn't get up to do some physical chores. The moment Grandma got up out of bed, Chen Xiaoyu was already awake as well. The water level in the kitchen storage vat was already more than half empty, so Chen Xiaoyu hoisted up the wooden shoulder pole and carrying buckets. The water in the kitchen vat was already more than half gone, so Chen Xiaoyu picked up the shoulder pole and headed up toward the mountain spring to fetch water. The people of this village, as well as the neighboring village, both loved drinking the natural spring water straight from the mountain, saying it tasted much cleaner and more hygienic. By the time Lin Yu and Chen Lin finally got up out of bed, Chen Xiaoyu had already shouldered his carrying pole and headed up the mountain path. "I'm gonna go take a look around too." Chen Lin wasn't used to interacting with Grandma, so while Mom and Grandma were talking, she dropped those words and quietly slipped away to sneak outside. Once she stepped outside, she finally let out a sigh of relief. Even though she hadn't visited this rural village more than a few times in her life, being out here in the open was still infinitely more comfortable than staying trapped inside the house. She wondered what Grandma had meant by the things she was saying earlier. She felt like between Big Bro and their late grandpa, something major definitely must have happened back then. That seemed to trace back to when she was roughly 11 years old. And that was precisely the exact period when Grandpa passed away. Thinking back on it now, Chen Lin suddenly realized something strange. Although Mom had always been strict with Big Bro before, it seemed like it was right around that exact same time frame that Mom's attitude and treatment toward Big Bro completely shifted. Pondering this, Chen Lin's curiosity grew stronger and more intense by the second. As she was walking along the path, a few voices drifted over from not too far away. There was a massive old tree located just a short distance from the village settlement, where several elderly villagers were sitting together in a circle chatting away. "Ain't that old Lady Zhang's grandchild? That kid is genuinely so filial and caring. None of their own sons and daughters ever come back to visit more than a couple times. Yet this boy is always coming over to help out. If I recall correctly, that kid's name is Chen Xiaoyu, right? I heard just a few days ago that he wanted to go buy some things out in town, and old man Lin tagged along with him on the trip, only for the old man to never make it back home alive. Yeah, back then his own dad beat him black and blue until he was covered in injuries all over. If old lady Zhang hadn't stepped in and blocked him just in time, the old man probably would have beaten the boy to death right there. That's just how cruel fate works out for people. Kids being a bit playful and reckless is nothing out of the ordinary. You can't go blaming a young child for something like that. Can only blame old man Lin for having such terrible luck that day." Hearing those shocking words whispered among the elders, Chen Lin was so terrified she almost wanted to curl up and hide away. And when she pieced together the hidden connections behind everything, a lot of puzzling things suddenly made complete sense in her mind. If that was really the case and the truth was so grim, then why on earth did Grandma treat Big Bro so incredibly well? It really didn't make any sense, she muttered to herself with mounting confusion in her heart. She suddenly caught sight of a familiar figure carrying 2 heavy buckets of water, slowly walking down the mountain trail from above, and Chen Lin hurried forward to meet him with wide strides. After breakfast, Grandma slowly stood up from the table and walked back into her bedroom, while Chen Xiaoyu cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks and headed into the kitchen. "Mom, do you actually hate Big Bro deep down?" After pondering things over 3 times in her head, Chen Lin asked carefully and cautiously. Lin Yu was completely caught off guard by that sudden question. Her mouth opened, but she couldn't manage to spit out a single word, before finally letting out a slow, heavy breath. "Why on earth would you ask something like that?" Chen Lin proceeded to recount everything she had just overheard. From those gossiping villagers out on the street, Lin Yu froze up, staring blankly into space in a daze. A moment later, she glanced over toward the direction of the kitchen and pulled Chen Lin by the hand, leading her out of the house. That tragic event happened many, many years ago. Once they reached the quiet outside area, Mom sighed deeply with a heavy heart. Did Grandpa really pass away because of Big Bro crew? That is the one thing Mom has never been able to let go of or find closure for, and it remains the most agonizing pain buried deep inside Mom's heart. She raised her head and looked over at her daughter, realizing for the very first time at that exact moment that without her noticing, her daughter had quietly grown up as well, maturing into a graceful, lovely young lady. Back during that particular summer vacation, Your big brother at the time insisted on tagging along to go to your dad's workplace together with you. However, your dad was only capable of keeping an eye on one child, so he still ended up sending your big brother off to stay with Grandpa. Fortunately, your big brother didn't throw any tantrums or cause trouble. We honestly thought at the time that everything was going to pass by safely and peacefully without incident. Who could have ever predicted that sudden devastating tragedy would strike out of nowhere? Your grandpa passed away, and when we rushed over, we discovered to our horror that it was actually because your big brother wanted to go outside and play, and since your grandpa couldn't bear to say no to him, he gave in and took him along. Who could have known that through a careless misstep, your grandpa would tumble down the steep mountain slope? Your grandpa's physical health was already clearly in very poor condition during those days, yet Big Bro still pestered and dragged him out to play anyway. This whole incident made it impossible for Mom to ever feel at peace with him. If it weren't for his stubbornness, your grandpa wouldn't have died. Those elderly villagers always say kids love playing around and it's just in their nature. And that grandpa simply had terrible luck that day. Lin Yu stood in silence listening for quite a long while, before gently patting Chen-Lin on the head. Yeah, we've been far too stubborn and obsessed all these years, and failed to see through the true essence of what really happened. Mom is full of deep regret now too. If it weren't for this stubbornness we held on to for all these years, our relationship with your big brother wouldn't have grown so bitter and strained either. Saying this, she turned her head to look right at Chen-Lin. However, you must remember one thing. Never mention any of these past events in front of Grandma. You understand, I know, Mom? Your grandma has been exceptionally haggard and fragile lately. If she hears you bringing up your late grandpa, it will definitely break her heart and make her feel awful, which would be terrible for her physical health. Before you knew it, afternoon rolled around. Lin Yu suggested that she wanted to go with Chen Xiaoyu down to the nearby bamboo grove together. After getting turned down flat, the entire house fell back into a strange, heavy silence. Actually, visiting that bamboo grove was something Chen Xiaoyu had proposed long ago, wanting to go check it out together with Mom, because that was where he had personally planted those bamboo shoots back then. But that was already ancient history from the past. Bringing it up now didn't hold any meaning anymore. Zhang Huaxian came back inside from the outdoors, and after finding out what had just transpired, without missing a beat, she gave Lin Yu a harsh, thorough tongue lashing, saying that back when the child wanted to go out with her all those times in the past, how come she never bothered to make time for him then, and now she's suddenly pulling this fake act out of nowhere. Zhang Huaxian turned her head to look at Chen Xiaoyu and said, "My child, why don't you head over to old Grandpa Key's place for a bit? If you come to the village and don't go drop by to see him, he's going to get upset and throw a fit later on." Grandpa Key's full name was Qifangbo. Just like Grandpa, he used to be a military serviceman in the army. The two of them were close comrades in arms back in the day, with an exceptionally tight bond. Even after retiring from the military, the two veterans would constantly hang out together, sometimes going out to fish by the riverbanks, and other times staying indoors playing rounds of Chinese chess. When Chen Xiaoyu was just a little kid, he would frequently tag along with Grandpa to go visit Grandpa Qi, so the two of them naturally grew closer and closer over time. Even though Grandpa passed away over the years, Grandpa Qi still constantly thought of him and asked about him all the time. Whenever Chen Xiaoyu came to visit the village, he would always carve out some free time to go see Grandpa Qi. "Sure, I'll go too." Chen-Lin took a quick look at the tense atmosphere at the scene, shivered slightly from a sudden chill, and hurried along to keep pace with Chen Xiaoyu. Before long, Chen Xiaoyu arrived in front of a red brick house, featuring a traditional wooden front gate, complete with 2 iron door knockers, one of which still had a heavy brass lock, clamped firmly across the handles. Stepping into this area gave off an uncanny sense of deja vu straight out of the 1990s. Big bro, is that Grandpa Qi really living out here? The village was split into a new district and an old district, with Grandma's place situated in the new settlement area where there were plenty of residents, and the houses looked much newer and nicer. However, this place was completely different, consisting of only a few scattered desolate houses, surrounded by dense overgrown trees and thickets, giving off a rather eerie, gloomy vibe. Since Chen-Lin was just a young girl, under these spooky circumstances, she couldn't help her mind from wandering toward ghost stories and superstitions. Don't be scared for no reason. Grandpa Qi was a military veteran, a hardcore soldier who actually fought and took down real outlaws and bandits back in the day. The kind of absolute badass presence, capable of suppressing and keeping all evil spirits and monsters away. Chen-Lin blinked her eyes a few times and started feeling a bit more at ease. Chen Xiaoyu grabbed the door knocker and banged it against the wood a few times while calling out, and the heavy front gate swung open shortly after. An elderly man with a head of completely white hair walked out from the courtyard, looking like he was in his 60s. Though he appeared somewhat aged with white hair, his frame and physical build were clearly still remarkably sturdy and robust. The moment Qi Fangbo caught sight of Chen Xiaoyu, the somewhat cloudy look in his eyes instantly lit up with a spark of bright life. "Oh well, if it isn't Chen Xiaoyu, you're back in the village. Come on in, hurry up and step inside. When did you guys arrive back here?" Chen Xiaoyu pulled Chenlin over closer to him, and after introducing her to Qi Fangbo, the two of them followed closely behind Qi Fangbo and stepped through the doorway together. "Ah, so it's a brother and sister coming back to visit together. It's seriously rare to see the two of you siblings showing up here side by side." He chatted warmly while eagerly pulling out a few freshly washed fruits from the side table for them. "Your late grandpa used to say back then that if the two of you grandkids ever came to visit together side by side, it's such a crying shame that he passed away before getting to see much of that." Inside the room, the dim yellowish light cast a soft glow, while several military medals were proudly displayed on the wall not far away. Witnessing this scene, Chenlin also felt a strange, inexplicable sense of safety and reassurance wash over her. Sometimes she would scroll through videos online and realize that this kind of authentic, grounded presence was way more effective at providing peace of mind than any superstitious talisman. After the three of them sat down and chatted for a bit, the front gate was suddenly knocked on once again. "You guys wait here for a moment. I'll go check who it is and be right back." Turning around toward the door, his expression instantly dropped into a cold scowl. "What are you doing here?" "Uncle Chi, I was just about to go pay a visit to my mom's place anyway, so I figured I'd drop by and bring you a few things on the way." Hearing that familiar voice ring out, Chenlin jumped right up from her stool. Rounding the corner of the room, "Third uncle, it really is you." "Oh, it's Linlin. How come you ended up out here?" Lingu flashed a wide smile as he looked over at Chenlin. This middle-aged man was actually none other than Chen Xiaoyu and Chenlin's third uncle Lingu. Grandpa's family had a total of 3 children in all, with mom being the second oldest sibling, and the third uncle being mom's younger brother. Because of the strict family upbringing instilled by Grandpa, even though their respective households had already split up and moved out separately years ago, they all still maintained a pretty good relationship with one another overall. Of course, this entire side of the family didn't have a good relationship with Chen Xiaoyu at all. Hearing third uncle's voice enter the room, Chen Xiaoyu didn't even bother to stand up from his seat, remaining quietly seated right where he was. Back in the past, he used to be extremely enthusiastic and polite, greeting everyone with a cheerful, respectful attitude whenever they met. Yet all he ever got in return at the end of the day were cold, sarcastic remarks. So Chen Xiaoyu wasn't about to keep using a warm, smiling face, just to suck up and cozy up to people who treated him coldly. As they talked, the two of them quickly walked into the room together. Third Uncle Lingu was a guy blessed with thick eyebrows and big striking eyes, bearing a strong physical resemblance to Grandpa. Looking somewhat surprised to see who was inside, Lingu raised an eyebrow the moment he spotted Chen Xiaoyu, instinctively flashing a look of pure disgust and aversion across his face. "Why on earth are you here too?" And upon hearing those harsh words drop from his mouth, Qi Fangbo's face instantly went deadpan and dark on pure instinct. "You little brat, take your junk and get the hell out of my sight right now." "Uncle Qi, I didn't mean it like that." Qi Fangbo's eyes bulged wide open in rage, as he bellowed angrily with furrowed brows and glaring eyes. A palpable murderous aura radiated outward from his body, instantly suppressing and stunning everyone in the room into silence. Seeing that Qi Fangbo was genuinely pissed off for real, Lingu hurriedly scooped up his belongings and scrambled away in a panicked flight. "Uncle Qi, I'll come back another day to check on you. Don't pay any mind to that idiot. Let's keep chatting among ourselves." Chenlin felt a sudden chill run down her spine, having just witnessed what went down moments ago. She couldn't help but feel a lingering sense of awe and dread toward this intimidating Grandpa Qi. That terrifying aura he just put off really spooked her quite a bit. After the group sat back down and continued talking for quite a while longer, Qi Fangbo never once flashed that fierce, frightening expression again, allowing Chenlin's nervous heart to gradually settle back down. As the evening sky began to darken into dusk, Chen Xiaoyu glanced over at the water storage vat inside and walked out. "Grandpa Qi, I'll be heading back over soon. Let me help you fill up your water vat completely before I go." "Alright, sounds good." So Chen Xiaoyu hoisted up his shoulder carrying pole and stepped out the door, leaving only Qi Fangbo and Chenlin behind inside the house. Chenlin started feeling uneasy all over once again. Yet trapped in this secluded place, she didn't dare run around or speak out of turn, so she had no choice but to obediently sit there and listen to Qi Fangbo talk. Qi Fangbo still seemed remarkably talkative and in good spirits, recounting old memories and scenes of his past adventures alongside Grandpa, and even bringing up the third uncle who had just visited earlier. That was when Chenlin finally learned that over 30 years ago in the past, when third uncle was still a little kid, he had once been kidnapped by human traffickers. Back during that dangerous ordeal, It was Chi Fangbo who threw hands and went to war with those traffickers. At that time, the enemy had a total of 6 men, including 2 martial artists hired as bodyguards. Risking heavy injuries, Chi Fangbo brutalized and took down all 6 of those scumbags, and successfully rescued third uncle from their clutches. It was precisely because of this massive debt of gratitude that third uncle always kept Chi Fangbo's profound kindness engraved deep in his heart. Whenever he managed to get his hands on any fine delicacies or good items, he never forgot to share them with Chi Fangbo. Hearing this story, Chenlin suddenly remembered something and spoke up Grandpa Chi. I heard that Grandpa passed away because Big Bro was being too playful and reckless. And that's why third uncle hates Big Bro so much. I used to not understand it either, always feeling like Big Bro had it so rough and pitiful. Yet now I feel like maybe they actually had their own hidden struggles and reasons too. Who on earth told you something like that? Your grandpa wasn't killed by your big brother at all? Ki Fangbo's expression instantly turned dead serious and grave. As he spoke with absolute certainty and finality, Mom said Grandpa died because of Big Bro though. And third uncle's attitude toward Big Bro today also pretty much explains everything. Yet Grandpa Ki, right in front of her eyes, who seemed like the person that understood Grandpa the most, was now claiming that Grandpa wasn't killed by Big Bro at all. Chenlin's brain completely short-circuited, unable to process the plot twist. Seeing the bewildered look on Chenlin's face, Ki Fangbo let out a furious huffing cold snort. Who's out there spreading baseless rumors and chewing on people's tongues behind their backs? Chenlin was so spooked she shook her head frantically back and forth. And noticing that Chenlin looked like she was about to burst into tears from fright, Chi Fangbo's expression softened back down, as he started soothing her with a calmer tone. Listen here, your grandpa was definitely not caused to die by your big brother. Back when your grandpa was still serving in missions years ago, he suffered severe injuries, leaving behind lingering health complications that were never properly treated. His physical health had been failing steadily for those few years, requiring trips to major city hospitals for professional medical checkups and treatment. Your grandma doesn't know how to read or write more than a few basic characters, and had no clue how to handle all that complicated hospital paperwork. So most of the time, I was the one who accompanied your grandpa to go see the doctor. Chenlin listened quietly in absolute silence, faintly picking up on the underlying tone that whenever Grandpa Ki in front of her mentioned late Grandpa, there was still a heavy trace of lingering sorrow and deep guilt in his voice. During that specific time, your grandpa felt exceptionally unwell and weak in his body. Yet I happened to be away out of town on business and couldn't rush back in time. Even back then, I could already tell something felt completely wrong, and told your grandma to hurry up and contact your mom and the other children, to get your grandpa rushed to the hospital for proper medical treatment immediately. Yet when all was said and done, what actually happened? Every single one of them claimed they were too busy with work, and not a single person had the time to make the trip. Your grandpa ultimately passed away while trapped under those exact helpless circumstances. Otherwise, given your grandpa's elite martial prowess and physical fitness, there's no way he would have just tumbled down a normal mountain slope and died like that. Chenlin felt completely dazed and mentally scrambled by this shocking revelation. Then why didn't Grandpa explain the situation clearly? Your grandpa was a very proud man. He probably did reach out to those children, but because everyone was busy, your parents and the others didn't agree to your grandpa asking for help. He only asked once. Even in death, he absolutely would never ask a second time. Plus, even if your grandma said anything, it was useless. Next, this kind of thing happened. When I rushed back, your grandpa had already passed away for 2 days. I was almost fuming to death. Such a bunch of unfilial children. Chenlin opened her mouth but had nothing to say. Chenlin remembered when her mom talked about Grandpa, she once said this was his lifelong pride, thinking it was because the older brother killed Grandpa that he was in so much pain, if he were to know the truth. Although she could also understand why Grandpa Chi and Grandma both treated older brother so well, while only Mom and Uncle held a grudge against older brother. Chenlin thought about how older brother all these years suffered because of this. Her eye sockets involuntarily turned red. Why didn't Grandma explain clearly to Mom and the others? Even though your grandma resented them, they were still her own children after all. She couldn't possibly tell them. Their father was slowly killed by them. Chenlin didn't dare to voice Mom's and the uncle's views and thoughts about older brother. Otherwise, this fierce Grandpa Chi would probably flip the table. Soon, Chen Xiaoyu finished fetching water and bade farewell to Uncle Chi Fang. Returning home, Grandma was cooking in the kitchen. Third uncle sat stiffly in the living room. Mom was taking a shower and wasn't around. Seeing the two of them, third uncle warmly greeted Chenlin. As for Chen Xiaoyu, he still acted like he didn't see him. Chenlin desperately wanted to tell third uncle that he had a misunderstanding. But if she told third uncle, Grandpa was indirectly killed by them. What kind of blow this must be to him? Chenlin thought about it over and over, and couldn't make up her mind for a moment. Chen Xiaoyu was already used to this kind of attitude. When he came in, he first checked the incense burner. Today is the first day of the lunar month. According to rural tradition, it's time to offer incense to the ancestors. Chen Xiaoyu walked straight into the storage room, took out 5 sticks of incense and lit them. Ninggu saw this and suddenly let out a loud roar. Rushing over aggressively, "What are you doing?" As he spoke, he tried to snatch the incense from Chen Xiaoyu's hand. Chen Xiaoyu moved the incense away. Ninggu lunged and grabbed nothing. Ninggu glared fiercely. "Give the incense to me? What kind of thing do you think you are? How dare you have the face to offer incense here?" Third uncle stepped aside. Ninggu was furious like never before at this moment. His eyeballs were practically popping out. No matter how Chen Lin pulled him, she couldn't pull him away. Chen Xiaoyu acted as if he didn't see Ninggu's anger. Glanced at the incense in his hand, which was already lit, gave it a habitual flick, and walked toward the incense burner. Ninggu was trembling with rage, roaring out, "You damn brat!" Chen Xiaoyu was already prepared. Hooked his foot out. A chair on the side was hooked out, blocking right in front of Ninggu. Ninggu was blinded by rage and couldn't react at all. He tripped over the chair, rolled onto the ground, and started howling. Chenlin stared blankly at this scene, turning pale with fright, and right at this moment, Ninggu leaped up. Despite the impact just now, he didn't suffer any injuries at all. But right now, he looked like an enraged tiger, extremely ferocious. Zhang Huaxian heard the commotion first, and walked out of the kitchen holding a spatula, because she was too emotional. The spatula in her hand kept trembling. With wide eyes, she shouted, "Stop, what are you trying to do? If you're here to cause trouble, then get lost. One, you're not welcome here." Ninggu shrank his neck back a bit, but seeing the incense in Chen Xiaoyu's hand, immediately became dissatisfied again. He wants to offer incense? How can you let him offer incense? Why shouldn't he? If he can't, can you? Ninggu was so intimidated by Zhang Huaxian's fierce momentum that he didn't dare to speak. "Xiaoyu, go offer your incense." Offer the incense right in front of him. "Grandma is right here. Let's see who dares to lay a hand on you." Ninggu was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, speaking while looking at Chen Xiaoyu. Seeing that Chen Xiaoyu had reached the incense burner and was really about to offer the incense, he took 2 steps forward. "How can you let this murderer offer incense to our family ancestors? Ninggu, if you make any more trouble, don't blame me, your mother, for being heartless." "Mom, you're going too far this time. You shouldn't let this murderer offer incense." Zhang Huaxian was clearly a bit dazed by these words, but she quickly reacted, and tears instantly streamed down her face. "Murderer? What kind of suffering has this child endured? Mom, why are you talking to us like that? Your dad had been feeling unwell for a long time. He asked you guys to take him for a checkup, and you all made excuses saying you were too busy with work. No matter how busy work is, can it compare to your own? Is my dad's life any less important?" That day, your dad was sent to the hospital. The hospital explicitly stated this was caused by a myocardial infarction. If you had brought him a few days earlier, this situation wouldn't have happened at all. Chen Xiaoyu is not a murderer. On the contrary, you people are the murderers. I've been holding it in and didn't want to tell you, but if you're going to use this to bully my grandson, I, Zhang Huaxian, will absolutely not stand for it. Ninggu's face turned completely pale. His lips trembled as if he wanted to say something. Chenlin looked worriedly toward third uncle Ninggu, but at this moment Ninggu seemed to hear nothing at all. His mind felt like a chaotic battlefield. With a stumble under his feet, he collapsed onto the ground. He had always thought it was because Chen Xiaoyu caused his father's death, that no matter what, he could never forgive this rebellious kid. Yet what was the result? Turns out the real reason was actually on their own hands. Thinking about how he had treated him all these years, Chen Xiaoyu suddenly felt a chill run through his body. A strong sense of guilt made him extremely uneasy. When your dad was around, you didn't know how to show filial piety. Now that he's gone, you all act like you're so pious, and you even take it out on a kid now? How much time do you guys usually spend coming to see me? How much time do you ever think of me? At least Chen Xiaoyu comes to find me whenever he has time. He is way more filial than you guys. So much better than you lot." Ninggu's face was flushed red. With a loud wail, he burst into tears, crying with such sorrow. "Mom, I'm sorry. Sorry, just leave. I don't want to see you today." Zhang Huaxian took a drag of her cigarette and slowly closed her eyes. Ninggu got up somewhat dejectedly and walked out silently. He paused when he reached the doorway. "Xiaoyu, I'm sorry. It was third uncle who failed you all these years." Chen Xiaoyu didn't respond. Ninggu gave a self-deprecating chuckle and walked off on his own. After Ninggu left, Zhang Huaxian came up to Chen Xiaoyu, looked at him and said, "Child, did they all think you were No. It's not like that, you silly child. Why are you so foolish?" Zhang Huaxian hugged Chen Xiaoyu and burst into tears. Chenlin watched this scene with reddened eyes as well, unconsciously thinking of her mom in her heart. She knew her mom felt the exact same way inside. If her mom found out the truth, would she be in just as much pain and guilt as third uncle? Around 6 p.m., Lin Yu walked back in. Mom, I'm back. Lin Yu. Only then did she notice today's dinner wasn't ready yet. Finding it a bit strange, Mom Chenlin called out. She instinctively wanted to say something, but held it back. What's wrong? I bumped into an old friend today and chatted a bit too much. Thought I was running late and then nothing at all. How come today's vibe is a bit weird? Right? Where's third uncle? Didn't he come over? He went back. He just said he was staying for dinner. How come he suddenly left? Zhang Huaxian walked out of the kitchen carrying a dish. Cast a cold glance at Lin Yu. With a stern face, Lin Yu, your grandma, I'm hungry, let's eat already. Before she could finish her sentence, Chen Xiaoyu chimed in first. How could Zhang Huaxian not understand her grandson's intention? She didn't say anything more, simply told Lin Yu, let's eat in a flat tone, and set the dishes down. Little did she know, Chen Xiaoyu was mostly afraid that once Mom found out about this news, her emotions would spiral and she'd spill the beans about his situation. Grandma's health isn't great right now. If she found out about this, he wasn't sure if she could handle the blow. When the moon rose at night, everyone turned in early. Mom, have you missed Grandpa all these years? Hearing Chenlin's words, a look of guilt surfaced on Lin Yu's face once again. It's very late now. Stop talking. Go to sleep. Actually, older brother, what about him? Nothing. I just meant Grandma never blamed older brother. Mom, you don't need to blame yourself so much either. Older brother, Mom didn't do that. Lin Yu patted her head. Lin Yu didn't admit it out loud. Yet deep down, she felt a sudden pang of realization. Some things she couldn't control herself either. This matter was like a sharp thorn, stuck right in her heart. She had also told herself countless times, she shouldn't act like that. He was just a child back then after all, but some things cannot be rationally controlled. After staying for 2 days, on the third day Lin Yu proposed to leave. Zhang Huaxian held some prepared farm eggs and other things, and handed them to Chen Xiaoyu. You must eat well when you get back. No matter what, you have to eat your fill. Got it. Grandma, don't worry so much. Chen Xiaoyu's eye sockets turned a bit red. If anyone bullies you, be sure to tell Grandma. Even though Grandma is old, I still have these old bones. I will Grandma come visit more often when you have time. Grandma will definitely be waiting for you. Alright, Grandma. Got into the car. Silence hung inside the car as usual. Chenlin sat in the back seat like a little quail, without saying a word. As for Lin Yu and Chen Xiaoyu, one focused on driving. The other quietly looked out the window. No different from when they came. After a 2-hour drive, the three of them returned to the city. Watching Chen Xiaoyu get out of the car, Lin Yu stepped out from the driver's seat. Why don't you move back in with us? No, we are a family. You're all alone outside, and you have no way to take proper care of yourself. Move back in and we'll live together. We can also take good care of you. A family should always stay together. Sorry, I just want to live my own life now. Chen Xiaoyu coldly refused, and turned right around to leave. If he had heard these words before, he might have been happy. But now, he really couldn't feel happy at all. Not even a tiny bit. Chen Xiaoyu gradually walked away. Lin Yu lowered her head somewhat dejectedly. Mom, are you okay? I'm fine. Mom's fine. Just feeling a little sad, that's all. Mom, what's wrong with older brother? He's been acting so weird lately. Hearing this sorrow welled up inside Lin Yu. Sensing her mom's abnormality, Chenlin asked nervously, Mom, what's wrong with you? Mom is fine. Your brother had an argument with Dad. That's why he's not quite the same as before. But you don't have to worry. Older brother will be back soon. Actually, it was all a misunderstanding. Older brother actually did nothing wrong. It was Dad who went too far. Alright, let's stop talking about it. Let's go home too. The two of them returned home. As soon as the door opened, Chen Shou's figure rushed out from inside. Lin Yu looked at Chen Shou with confusion. Weren't you supposed to be at work today? I finished all my work today, so I got off early. By the way, is it just the two of you? Chen Shou's gaze subconsciously looked past Lin Yu and Chen Lin toward behind them. Seeing Chen Shou's insincere look, Lin Yu suddenly flared up with anger and demanded, what else did you expect? Lin Yu took off her shoes and entered the house. Chen Shou followed right behind. Didn't you say you'd try your best to bring him back? Who is him? Are you even unwilling to say his name anymore? Your emotions are a bit out of control today. Did something happen? I'm tired. I'm going to rest first. Watching Chen Shou immediately put on his patriarchal airs, Lin Yu turned away with a weary look. Chen Shou turned his head to look at Chen Lin. Lin. You tell me, where is he? Dad, who is he? It's your older brother. Didn't you guys go to Grandma's house with your older brother? Your mom said she would convince your older brother to come back and live with us. Dad, since you want older brother back home so badly, why did you treat older brother like that back then? How did I treat him? I provided his food, clothes, and even paid for his schooling. What's wrong with me scolding him a couple of times? Besides, I was doing it for his own good. If your brother keeps acting like this, and if dad keeps pampering him, it'll just ruin him. You know, he will definitely thank dad in the future. Then why can't you just talk to him nicely? A father needs to maintain a father's dignity. Otherwise, dad won't be able to keep him under control, and he'll slip out of dad's control. This is something dad must do. But you don't treat me the way you treat older brother. Girls and boys are naturally different, of course. So the methods of education are different too. Linlin, stop talking so much. You better talk about your brother's situation first. Dad, you're going too far. I'm not talking to you anymore. Hearing this, Chenlin suddenly seemed to be able to picture older brother's usual situation. Under these circumstances, older brother must have felt so desperate and helpless. Almost nothing he said ever mattered. Chenlin grabbed her backpack and angrily ran toward her room. Witnessing this scene, Chencho felt a sense of loss while also growing frantically anxious. What on earth happened? Could something have happened to him? Back downstairs at the dorm building, Chen Xiaoyu sat on a bench in front of the residential complex for quite a while. When Grandma told him the other day that she missed him, he didn't feel much at the time. Only after returning did he realize Grandma was much older than before, and her body was much frailer than before too. Thinking of this, Chen Xiaoyu felt both sorrowful and somewhat terrified. If Grandma found out about his situation, would Grandma's health be able to take it? At this moment, Chen Xiaoyu also thought of Grandpa. Although Grandpa was an old-fashioned and rigid man, he valued him immensely. If he found out about his situation, a wave of sorrow welled up in Chen Xiaoyu's heart, unable to be dispelled. "Hey, aren't you Chen Xiaoyu?" A voice came from the side. A few guys wearing basketball jerseys walked over with their arms around each other's shoulders. They had some quirky decorations tied to them, looking quite cheerful and handsome. Chen Xiaoyu stood up, a few smiles also appearing on his face. "It's you guys. Long time no see." The guys walked over with a smile and gave Chen Xiaoyu a hug. These people had known Chen Xiaoyu since childhood. To put it simply, they were elementary school classmates. Some were in the same class. Some were in different classes. But because they all played basketball together back then, they all knew each other. And their bond was pretty good. Sunbin exchanged pleasantries and then asked, "Do you live here?" "Just staying here temporarily." "Isn't your family super strict with your discipline? Back when we joined the basketball tournament, you had to beg your family for a long time. Now that you're older, things have gotten a lot better." "This is pretty nice too. I remember back then when you said you were playing basketball. Your dad almost swallowed you alive. We were terrified too." "Let's not talk about me. How about you guys been doing well lately? I heard you guys formed a basketball team or something." "Yeah, interested. As long as you're interested, come over anytime. We all know your skills." "Nah, forget it. My studies come first right now." Sunbin also knew about Chen Xiaoyu's situation, though he only said that casually, just based on Chen Xiaoyu's dad's style. It would be impossible for him to let him join. "By the way, where is Li Zhenan?" "Yeah, aren't you guys pretty close? I heard he's on the school team now. Sounds like he's pretty badass. I've been meaning to spar with him. Wonder if I'll get the chance. I haven't seen him around lately. I used to think he wasn't much special back then. Now he seems to have gotten quite famous for playing ball. Too bad I haven't seen his real skills in action. What a shame I had a chance to check it out once. Turns out his mom came over saying he didn't want to participate and was quitting." "You said it, yeah. I was still super hyped watching him before. Just one night and he decided to quit." "Total nonsense." Everyone chimed in with their own words. Sunbin gave a bitter smile and didn't continue. Actually, he always felt that Li Zhenan didn't really want to quit, yet felt something was off somewhere. The group exchanged pleasantries for a bit before parting ways. Chen Xiaoyu also returned to his own dorm. However, after meeting up with these guys, Chen Xiaoyu couldn't help but reminisce about that previous basketball tournament. That was truly one of the few things he fought hard for. So he remembered that basketball game very clearly. Meanwhile, inside an art studio, "He hasn't come over to your place in a long time, huh? Miss him." "Brother Sun Qi, don't use this kind of stuff to joke with me. Still playing dumb right in front of me. It's not like I don't know you. You running over here so eagerly these past couple of days? Isn't it just because over these last 2 days, Chen Xiaoyu hasn't been going to class?" "Think I wouldn't know." Li Zhenan shifted away with a look of embarrassment, still somewhat dissatisfied with Sun Qi's remark. "You guys used to be best friends. Why bother turning things into this state? I hope you guys can really make up." Li Zhenan wore a complex expression, not knowing what he thought of. A trace of bone-deep hatred flashed in his eyes. "No way. Dong, dong, dong." The door was knocked heavily. Li Zhenan slowly got up, ran over to the trash can up front. "I should go. I told you to throw it out when you walk past." Next time. Finished speaking Li Zhenan. Twisted, his foot limped out and opened the door. As expected, it was Mom. Let's go. Lee Jenin was already used to this. Chung Chun-ying still said with dissatisfaction, I haven't seen you around for a while. I knew you ran over here. How many times have I told you not to come here for no reason? Mom, the person is still here. You say that and they can hear it. If they heard, they heard. Hearing it is even better. Then cut ties completely with them. Mom, what on earth do you want from me? I'm doing this for your own good. Saying he has a proper job. Why must he go do some painter nonsense? Isn't this just asking for trouble? You must never learn from him in the future. Stop talking, I don't want to hear it. The voices outside gradually faded away. Sanki held his unfinished drink, sipping it little by little. When drinking all by yourself, alcohol is actually bitter. In class, the teacher's loud voice echoed through the classroom. Aside from the teacher's voice, the classroom was dead silent. Lan Xinyu unconsciously looked toward Chen Xiaoyu's direction once again, with a hint of anticipation in her eyes. Feng rubbing gently tugged at Lan Xinyu's clothes. Xinyu, what's wrong with you? Being absent-minded these past 2 days was one thing. How come you're still like this now? I'm fine. Lan Xinyu guiltily retracted her gaze and shook her head in the corner. Li Chenan clenched his fist tightly. Ever since that time, Lan Xinyu seemed like a completely different person. She used to come looking for him from time to time. Now, her head is full of nothing but Chen Xiaoyu. Ring-a-ling, the class dismissed bell rang. The substitute teacher put down the textbook and slowly walked out of the classroom. The classroom instantly became noisy and chaotic. At this moment, the head teacher walked in. The head teacher's majesty caused the noise in the classroom to vanish by more than half in an instant. Students, you've all been studying hard lately. The teacher has decided to hold a friendly match with the neighboring class. It can both help relax your minds and get your bodies moving. Teacher, what kind of friendly match? Are we going out to play? Where is the match taking place? Singing, maybe, that would be much better. The students chimed in one after another. The head teacher completely turned a deaf ear. It's a basketball game. Everyone down below successively showed looks of disappointment. However, quite a few boys became energetic. A basketball game is naturally a boys' game. A game like this is a chance to show off in front of the female classmates. Why not do it? A loud and clear voice rang out. Li Jianen raised his hand and slowly stood up. Teacher, I request to be the captain for this match. Student Li Jianen, originally you would be the most suitable candidate, but you sprained your foot these past 2 days, so you aren't really suited to play in the match right now. Teacher is organizing this friendly match to relieve your study pressure if you're injured and still insist on participating in a match like this. It'll be troublesome if your injury gets worse by then. That would go against our original intention. Teacher, I'm fine. The teacher is very touched by your spirit of contributing to the class. However, the friendly matches in these 2 days, if you participate in your condition, problems will definitely arise. No matter what, the teacher cannot let you participate. But fine. A patient should do what a patient is supposed to do. This time isn't the only time. There will be a next time in the future. You don't need to be discouraged either. Li Jianan sat down with extreme reluctance. He knew very well that if it wasn't him, it would definitely be Chen Xiaoyu. Sure enough, the head teacher turned his head to look at Chen Xiaoyu ahead. Chen Xiaoyu, teacher, hearsay is you also participated in tournaments before and even won awards. Can you come be the captain? Hearing this, the fist Li Jianan hid under the desk clenched even tighter. It's Chen Xiaoyu again. It's Chen Xiaoyu again. Every single time it's Chen Xiaoyu. It's exactly the same as back then. He felt an indescribable resentment. Clearly, Chen Xiaoyu treated him like that. Chen Xiaoyu is so hateful. Why do all the good things go to Chen Xiaoyu and it never falls on him? Well, teacher, he had always been looking for something he could do. But right now, Chen Xiaoyu didn't fully know what he wanted to do, so he simply agreed to it. Hearing Chen Xiaoyu's words, the students in the classroom were like boiling water, bursting into a commotion. Actually, it's pretty great for Chen Xiaoyu to be captain. Chen Xiaoyu plays basketball really well, and his shooting accuracy is amazing. Yeah, I saw it too. Back then, Chen Xiaoyu shot from outside the three-point line and directly scored the ball. That was seriously badass. Wonder how strong the people from the neighboring class are. If they don't have anyone decent, won't our class win for sure? We were basically going to casually bully them anyway. What else could they do? These people's words were like needles, pricking into Li Jianen's body one needle at a time. Even though he was sitting in the classroom, he wished he could find a hole to crawl into. Something he begged for and couldn't get was easily obtained by Chen Xiaoyu. While he was the best at basketball, at this very moment, no one took him seriously at all. Not even a single word was mentioned about him. He was like a complete clown. Li Jianen raised his head blankly. Not far away, Lan Xinyu stared blankly at Chen Xiaoyu's figure. Her gaze rippled, revealing a kind of longing that had never been shown toward him before. Li Jianen stood up silently, limped his way out from the back. leaving behind this classroom that felt completely out of place for him. His figure looked exceptionally lonely at this moment, yet no one noticed. Everyone was busy discussing matters about the friendly match. Lee Jenin walked out the classroom door, gave a self-deprecating chuckle, and recalled that basketball match from a few years ago. He would never forget that scene. Chen Xiaoyu chose someone else but abandoned him. He had never told anyone about this matter, yet even until now he still kept it firmly engraved in his heart. The after-school bell rang. Chen Xiaoyu walked up to the podium fellow students. 2 days later is the day of the friendly match, so tonight we need to finalize the roster. A total of 5 main players, 5 substitutes, and 2 alternates. Which students want to participate, please sign up. I'm in, anyway with you here. We're bound to win. Might as well join the fun. Jolin raised her hand to state her stance without even thinking. After Jolin's statement, the others also raised their hands one after another. I'll join too. In a short amount of time, 7 or 8 people had already raised their hands to vote, leaving only a few spots left. I'll join too right at this moment. Li Jianan stood up, hearing his words. The people in the classroom looked at Li Jianan strangely. Chen Xiaoyu paused for a second and immediately reacted classmates. The teacher said, "You can't participate. My injury is not a problem. I can participate. Your foot is in a sprained state and is not suited for any physical activities, including basketball. You don't need to worry about that. You just need to help me sign up. Or is it because you're scared of me stealing your thunder?" Hearing this, the voices in the classroom also turned a bit lower. Chen Xiaoyu really understood Li Jianan quite well. He was naturally this kind of person anyway. Rebellious, however. At this moment, Li Jianan seemed even more stubborn than usual. "I think the teacher should have made things very clear to you earlier. Stop talking nonsense to me. Just tell me whether you'll let me sign up or not. It's just one sentence. Why all the nonsense? If you don't give it to me, it's just because you're afraid I'll steal your thunder. Am I wrong? The same thing happened back in the past. Wasn't it just because I was better at playing basketball than you that you secretly kicked me out? Chen Xiaoyu, you are such a scumbag." Li Jianan didn't expect Chen Xiaoyu to be so direct. Coming back to his senses, he flew into a rage out of humiliation. Seeing this, Jolin let out a fierce scolding. "Are they out of their minds? The teacher already made it clear to you, yet you insist on making a fuss here. Chen Xiaoyu is doing this considering your limping foot, and out of your own good, which is why he won't let you participate. Can you not be so ungrateful, please? For my own good, for his own good, you mean?" Showing off his pitiful little authority. "I said I can participate. What right does he have not to let me join? My foot might be sprained right now, but in a couple of days, my foot will be fine. He is clearly just worried that I'll steal his thunder by then. Do you really think we don't know? Your foot was checked at the school infirmary. The teacher already went to verify it. What the heck are you still babbling on about here? Besides, this is a class matter. The class comes first. Are you seriously going to let your own selfish desires drag our class into a passive and troublesome situation?" Li Jianan's face turned alternating shades of pale and red from being scolded. He clenched his teeth and turned to look at Chen Xiaoyu on the podium instead. "Chen Xiaoyu, I'll ask you one last time. My injury will be fine in a couple of days. Can I sign up right now or not?" "No," Chen Xiaoyu answered without even thinking. Li Jianan is indeed outstanding at playing basketball. But just as Jolin said, his foot injury is actually not light, let alone 2 days. Even a couple more days might not be enough for it to heal. Furthermore, finalizing the roster today is so that over the next 2 days, there will be time to practice and foster teamwork and coordination. Even if Li Jianan could really recover in 2 days without going through drills and lacking mutual coordination, it would still be completely useless. Under these circumstances, it was impossible for Li Jianan to sign up anymore. Li Jianan's expression turned icy, and throwing down an aggressive parting remark, "Without me, you guys can just wait to lose," he turned around and left. Why is he acting like this? Yeah, he wasn't suited for it in the first place, insisting on participating, and now even cursing us to lose. We had no idea he was like this before. I heard he took basketball very seriously, and I even liked him quite a bit. Now looking at it, this guy is seriously messed up. Amidst these discussions, Lan Xinyu cast her gaze toward the direction Li Jianan left. Lan Xinyu felt extremely surprised. It felt like she was meeting Li Jianan for the very first time. She suddenly thought of the past, when Chen Xiaoyu and Li Jianan had a conflict. Back then, because of how Li Jianan had once helped her, she always believed that Chen Xiaoyu should be more understanding toward Li Jianan. Now it seemed she might have been wrong back then. The situation at the time was very likely Li Jianan making an unreasonable fuss. Thinking of this, Lan Xinyu felt a dull ache in her heart once again. When Chen Xiaoyu always cared about her in the past, she didn't take it seriously at all. Now that she's lost it, she finally realized how precious some things truly are. Aside from the team members, there also need to be 2 logistics staff. Anyone want to sign up for that? In his view, the best choice for the logistics staff would be girls. This would give the team members a bit more motivation. I'll do it, seeing her participate. Many people wore looks of surprise in their eyes, clearly not expecting that Lan Xinyu would actively participate in something like this. There had never been a precedent for this in the past. Chen Xiaoyu looked over and nodded slightly at Lan Xinyu's expectant gaze. Great. Seeing Chen Xiaoyu agree, Lan Xinyu let out a secret sigh of relief, but immediately after she clenched her fists. This time, she must make Chen Xiaoyu forgive her. Li Zinan raised his head high, full of anger, clenching his fists until they creaked, but soon he lowered his head like a deflated balloon. If you feel like your brother Sun Chi can listen, then go ahead and talk about it. The school organized a basketball-friendly match. The teacher asked Chen Xiaoyu to organize it. I wanted to participate, but I was rejected by him. The more Li Zhenin talked, the more distressed he felt. His palms were trembling slightly. Sun Chi cast a worried glance at Li Zhenan's foot. Li Zhenin raised his head somewhat excitedly. My foot will be fine in a couple of days? He clearly could have waited 2 days. Why couldn't he let me sign up? He abandoned me once again. Seeing how emotional Li Zhenan was, Sun Chi pacified him with a couple of remarks. And once his emotions gradually stabilized, he said what Chen Xiaoyu did this time was right. You really aren't suited for it this time. Even if your foot injury heals, you still need to rest and take care of it first. Instead of rushing to participate in a match right away, you play basketball too. You should know this very well. You acted way too extreme this time. This time doesn't count, but what about last time? Last time he abandoned me too. Last time was a basketball match from back then. Do you remember brother Sun Chi? Sun Qi nodded. Li Zhenin had never mentioned this matter to him, but those days he had been very unhappy. Sun Qi had vaguely sensed that much. However, Sun Qi wasn't the type to proactively ask about things, so naturally he wouldn't hound Li Zhenin to ask about certain matters. Back then I thought I was his best friend, so when I heard there was a basketball tournament, I immediately went to him to join together. And the result, do you know what happened? He gathered everyone else, felt that I was getting in the way, and just kicked me aside in one swift move. He abandoned me for the sake of others. How could he treat me like this? I always thought he was my best friend. So something like that happened back then too. That time he won. In the end, he even ran up to my face to gloat. Did he think I would be happy for him? He thinks I'll be happy for him. His words were like a needle, pricking fiercely into my heart. Every single word he said made me hate him a fraction more. Have you ever thought that things might not be like that, and there's some kind of misunderstanding because I know Chen Xiaoyu isn't that kind of person? No way this was told to me personally by my mom. At that time, I was still preparing for the basketball game, and he ended up telling my mom that the roster was already full. There weren't enough spots, so I had to quit. Actually, Chen Xiaoyu quite well too. Do you really think he's the type to do something like that? In this world, the most pitiful thing is trusting others. The more you trust others, the more painful the final result turns out to be. Seeing Li Zhenan's increasingly paranoid appearance, Sun Qi didn't speak anymore. He knew that saying anything now was completely useless. Li Zhenin had already stubbornly locked his mind onto this matter, no matter what he said. The other party wouldn't believe it. He wouldn't force anything on others, nor would he say things others didn't want to hear. Yet he knew very well that Chen Xiaoyu wasn't that kind of person. There had to be some misunderstanding in the middle of it. When Li Zhenin found out the truth, he would definitely regret it. Sigh, this world is truly strange. People clearly claim to know each other well, yet they are often swayed by emotions instead, and end up trapped in a state of regret in the end. Humans really are complex creatures. The whistle blew. Bursts of cheers erupted outside the basketball court. The girls from each class acted as cheerleaders and shouted out. Students from other classes also walked over to take a look, their eyes carrying a hint of envy. That's Chen Xiaoyu. He's awesome at playing basketball. I used to know him back then and watched his matches. I only heard his grades were great. Nothing else was very clear. He was playing basketball with a group of guys. You might have heard of those people too. It's Sun Bin and the others. Chen Xiaoyu was also the absolute core player among them. Too bad Li Zhenan isn't here. His skills are also pretty great. If he were here, wouldn't their class win for sure? Li Zhenan sat beside the basketball court. At the very end of the built-up steps, a solitary figure, seeming completely out of place with the current atmosphere, on the basketball court. At that moment, Chen Xiaoyu just happened to receive the ball and effortlessly got past his opponent, arriving under the basket. Two opposing players were already guarding the rim. While Chen Xiaoyu was shooting, the two of them jumped high up. Chen Xiaoyu passed the ball as he landed, sending it straight into the hands of another teammate. The expressions of those two opponents instantly changed. And that teammate made a two-step layup, The basketball swished through the net twice. A wave of cheers erupted outside the court. Class three's strength might not compare to the opposing team's, but because of Chen Xiaoyu's organizing, the entire team was vitalized. Seeing this situation, the opponents could only shake their heads in utter helplessness. Gotta hand it to him. Chen Xiaoyu's passing and playmaking ability truly was an ultimate killer move against them. He's seriously amazing. Just like back then, remembering how I used to hide alone in the corner, secretly watching that match, thinking back now, I was acting like a total idiot. He turned his head to look at Lan Xinyu. Lan Xinyu was staring intently at Chen Xiaoyu's figure, her eyes seemingly glowing with light. Li Zhenan struck the ground with a merciless fist. In a fit of frustration, along with the sound of a whistle, the referee shouted loudly, "The match is over. Class 3 wins." Hearing the sound, the students of Class 3 instantly cheered out loud. Having a victory like this in these dreary days made them feel incomparably excited. Lan Xinyu, the head teacher, and the others all walked forward to offer their congratulations. The students of Class 3 rushed forward even more to surround Chen Xiaoyu. Li Zhenan watched this celebratory scene in silence, feeling more and more out of place, and growing increasingly heartbroken. He had thought countless times, if Chen Xiaoyu hadn't abandoned him back then, they could have achieved victory just the same. But Chen Xiaoyu didn't do that. He abandoned him. Li Zhenan slowly stood up and walked out of the basketball court all by himself. Not long after, Li Zhenan returned to the classroom. The people from Class 3 had all returned shortly after. At this moment, everyone was immersed in the joy of victory, bantering with each other continuously and looking extremely happy. "Class monitor, it's rare to be happy today. Shouldn't you treat us to a cup of bubble tea as a reward?" Ha ha ha, yeah. On such a great day like today, without bubble tea to celebrate, it feels like something is missing. "Class monitor, wake up already." "What do you mean by bubble tea to celebrate?" "You guys don't need to rush either. The teacher has already prepared it for you all." The crowd began hooting and hollering, seeing how they were acting. Li Zhenan felt the anger in his heart erupt uncontrollably, especially upon hearing the people nearby still praising how awesome Chen Xiaoyu was. Winning just once, that's all. Acting like they've never won anything in their entire lives. I really don't know what's there to be so happy about. Hearing his words, the whole class felt as if they'd been splashed with a bucket of cold water, and instantly quieted down. Gotta hand it to him. At a time like this, Li Zhenan's words seemed rather snide and petty. The class monitor didn't look too happy as he looked toward Li Zhenan. "Li Zhenan, everyone is finally having a good time. Why do you have to say things like that? Did I say something wrong? It's not even any big deal of a match. Making a fuss as if it's some kind of huge achievement. Some people you see can only play around with people who don't know how to play basketball nowadays. If it were an actual real match..." Finished speaking, he let out a cold laugh and swaggered out of the classroom. Li Zhenan left the entire class with a view of his back. The class monitor stood on the podium looking incomparably awkward at that moment. This was the first time ever since becoming class monitor that he had encountered a situation like this. "Everyone, I'm sorry, he was mainly targeting me. This victory isn't as insignificant as he made it out to be either, because this was something we achieved by giving it our all. This result is something we earned, not something we stole. There's no need to feel discouraged at all." Yeah. The students' spirits were stirred up as well. However, because of Li Zhenan's words, everyone couldn't quite get back to their previous mood at this point. On the other side, Li Zhenan quickly walked out of the school grounds. Just then, a few people walked toward him from the opposite direction. Seeing them, Li Zhenan couldn't help but freeze for a second. Upon seeing them, Li Zhenan's very first instinct was to turn around and leave. It seemed like, ever since that time, whenever Li Zhenan ran into these people, he would always subconsciously feel that these people overshadowed him. This feeling made Li Zhenan feel extremely uncomfortable. Soon Bin's first impression to people was always that the smile on his face was very radiant, sunny, and at this moment, his smile was even more dazzling. Except for Li Zhenan right now, this smile looked extremely glaring and piercing. Long time no see. Are you heading home from school now? How come I don't see Chen Xiaoyu? Aren't you guys joined at the hip every single day? I had some stuff to take care of today, so I left early. Is that so? Then did I end up disturbing you? It's fine, I heard. Your class had a friendly match with another class, and I wanted to go check it out. Ended up missing it because something came up. How did it turn out? Did you guys win in the end? I just know that Chen Xiaoyu's skills have always been pretty great. Did they win? Li Zhenan's smile was a bit forced. Seeing Li Zhenan smile, Sunbin felt a bit puzzled. Someone next to Sunbin chuckled out loud. This reminds me of that basketball match back then. If it hadn't been for that time, we might not have even gotten to know each other. Yeah, me and Chen Xiaoyu basically became friends after fighting each other. His family discipline seems pretty strict though. Still, I heard he took that time very seriously. It's just a pity you didn't participate. I was originally planning to be a substitute. As a result, your mom came over and said that you needed to sign up for cram school, so you gave up that spot. What were you thinking, man? We had everything agreed upon back then. Yet you said you weren't coming and just didn't show up. At the time, Chen Xiaoyu even vouched for you. Seriously. Hearing them talk about the past match, Li Jianan felt extremely unhappy inside. But as he listened on, he couldn't help trembling. What did you guys just say? Why does your expression look a bit off? What did you just say? Say that again. Li Jianan walked forward impulsively and grabbed the guy by the shoulders. That guy stared blankly at Li Jianan, having no idea what was going on. Sun Bin also caught a hint of something unusual by this point. The night before the match, your mom came to find us, saying that you had to sign up for cram school, so you wouldn't be coming to the match. We were all really angry back then, after all we had prepared for so long. However, Chen Xiaoyu said you must have had something special to deal with. There was nothing we could do at the time either, so we just had to bite the bullet and go with it. To be honest, we were all quite furious back then, and didn't want to have anything to do with you either. But as time passed, that matter just blew over. After all, we won back then anyway, and didn't lose. Otherwise, we would never have gotten over that matter for the rest of our lives. Li Jianan felt as if struck by lightning. His complexion turning increasingly pale, he abruptly recalled Sun Qi's words. Chen Xiaoyu isn't that kind of person? Yeah, it seemed he had never been that kind of person at all. Li Jianan suddenly felt a deep chill, and couldn't help curling his body up. Passing a cup of water with a trace of worry, Li Zhenan, are you alright? No, I'm fine. Li Zhenan bid farewell to these people, and dashed toward home like a madman. He needed to figure out the truth of the matter. What on earth happened back then? Is he alright? He looked kind of weird. I heard his foot was injured. Isn't he doing pretty well right now? Seems like it was about that previous basketball game. Whatever, it's been so long since that happened anyway. No need to care about it either. Bang, the door was pushed open with a loud crash. Li Zhenan aggressively stormed into the house. Zhang Chunying was in the living room stringing snow peas. Seeing Li Zhenan, she smiled, "You're back." Li Zhenan strode over aggressively, gazing fixedly at Zhang Chunying like a pair of swords. What is it? About that basketball match back then, you told me that Chen Xiaoyu had already filled the roster, and there were no spots left for me. Do you remember? How long ago was that? It was from 4 years ago. I was all set to participate in the basketball match, and you even agreed to it back then? What's wrong? Why bring this up all of a sudden? That's all in the past. Was it really because the roster was full? Of course, I just ran into those people from before, and they brought up the past with me, saying that you were the one who approached them and said I had to sign up for cram school, which is why I couldn't go. It's all in the past. Why are you still asking about these things? It is not in the past what actually happened. I want to know how things really went down. I was only doing it for your own good. What kind of attitude is that supposed to be right now? Zhang Chunying acted somewhat agitated, as if poked in a sore spot. Hearing his mom give a disguised admission, Li Zhenan's breathing grew rapid. Unable to suppress his anger any longer, Li Zhenan let out a hysterical roar. Why did you have to do that? Why? Didn't you promise me I could participate in the match? It was all because of your grades. The reason Chen Xiaoyu participated in the match was because his grades were good, and you were already among the bottom few in the class back then, and still want to go participate in a match like that. What if you end up only knowing how to play basketball in the future? Zhang Chunying slammed her palm onto the table. Mixed with anger, Li Zhenan's palms trembled slightly. Then why did you say it like that? Why did you insist on saying Chen Xiaoyu kicked me out? Mom knows your personality. The reason Mom said that was to make you treat Chen Xiaoyu as your own rival, and take him as your own role model, to study hard and then surpass him. Now look at you listening to my words. You studied hard to catch up to him, and got into such a great school, plus your basketball skills don't lose to his either. Isn't that great, since it's so great? Why do you still keep saying I don't measure up to Chen Xiaoyu? Hearing Li Zhenan's interrogative tone, Zhang Chunying felt somewhat guilty, yet constrained by a mother's authority, she still refused to lower her head. Since the matter is already in the past, just let it go. As long as you remember Mom did this for your own good. That's enough. It's not in the past. It's not in the past. Li Zhenan roared at Zhang Chunying like a madman, and screamed as he turned around and ran back into his room. The bedroom door was slammed shut violently, producing a huge deafening crash. Zhang Chunying's expression turned completely steely and cold, a wave of grievance welling up inside her heart. Li Zhenan right now was actually treating her with this kind of attitude? Didn't she do all of this for his own good? Did he think she felt good doing this either? Why did it turn out like this? Li Zhenan leaned against the bedroom door in agony, as tears streamed from the corners of his eyes. Because of this matter, he and Chen Xiaoyu had drifted further and further apart. How many times, because of this matter, had he harbored resentment toward Chen Xiaoyu and consequently done those things? No, I have to apologize. I have to apologize. Li Jianan suddenly thought of something and frantically pulled out his phone. Flipping to that familiar name, he stared at the name for a long time, yet ultimately failed to press send. What face do I have to go apologize right now? I've caused so much hurt to Chen Xiaoyu. Li Jianan sat in silence for a long time. Opening the text message interface, Chen Xiaoyu, I'm sorry. All these years, it was my fault. I always thought the basketball match back then, thought you abandoned me for the sake of someone else. This was what I cared about most. Writing a whole bunch in a flowing emotional draft, Li Jianan sat there frozen in place, unable to send it out. After all, his pride wouldn't let him do it. I really am an idiot. He clutched his knees and collapsed in despair. Meanwhile, Chen Xiaoyu leaned lazily against the playground in front of the teaching building. On day, watching the students coming down in a continuous stream ahead, they must be getting ready for PE class. Zhuolin smiled and patted Chen Xiaoyu on the shoulder, sitting down beside him. I was wondering where you ran off to. Turns out you came here. Just came out to get some fresh air. Your complexion looks a bit bad. Catch a cold. No, it's because of that. Although I took medicine, it still seems to have some side effects. You don't need to worry. No matter what, he still couldn't let go of this situation. Yet he couldn't talk in front of his bros too much about his medical condition. The two of them chatted back and forth casually. Lan Xinyu slowly walked up in front of the two of them. What are you doing here? In the past, Zhuolin felt that Lan Xinyu understood Chen Xiaoyu best, and was the person most suited for Chen Xiaoyu, but ever since what happened before, she completely lost that mindset, and her attitude toward her underwent a 180-degree flip. Lan Xinyu ignored Zhuolin's cold remarks, and squeezed out a smile. Chen Xiaoyu, are you free this weekend? I need to talk to you about something. Ever since what happened before, she would come looking for Chen Xiaoyu from time to time. This was something that had never happened back in the past. In the past, she was far more arrogant. If it had happened before, Chen Xiaoyu might have been very happy, but now he no longer had that kind of mindset. Chen Xiaoyu shook his head and told Zhuolin not to speak. Looking at Lan Xinyu, if you have something to say, just spit it out. I want to go for a walk outside with you. I want to apologize to you. What was she doing before? Now she knows how to apologize. He was ultimately a bit different toward Lan Xinyu compared to others. After all, he really used to like her a lot back then. However, some kinds of affection will also fade away as patience wears thin. You don't need to deliberately do these things. I said before that we are just classmates. You did what you thought was right. Nothing more than that. There's no need to apologize over these things. Nothing more than that. There's no need to apologize over these things. No matter how many times he heard these blunt words, his heart felt incomparably painful. I know you harbor resentment in your heart. However, everyone makes mistakes. We've made it through so long together. Could it be that just because of this little mistake, Lan Xinyu, what do those things you said have to do with me? We never even started. So there's even less possibility of an ending. Hearing these words, Lan Xinyu's body trembled involuntarily. You should leave. Her body gave a slight shiver. She knew that if she really left, in the future she might never have even a shred of a chance to raise her head and face Chen Xiaoyu directly. Chen Xiaoyu, I was wrong. I want to ask you to give me a chance to turn over a new leaf. Just once. This time, I won't doubt you ever again. Why bother doing this? We won't have any results anyway. No results are created by people. They aren't destined by the heavens. We can definitely create a good outcome. Lan Xinyu, not knowing what she thought of, wore an exceptionally resolute expression. Chen Xiaoyu felt somewhat dazed. Once upon a time, how badly he wished that Lan Xinyu would choose him with such unwavering firmness. It seemed like he had never been chosen by anyone so firmly before. Yet right now, you can't create anything. Seeing Chen Xiaoyu's look, Zhuolin turned her head away in distress. Chen Xiaoyu, all right. You've said about enough too. You should leave. Why say so much? What was she doing before? He glanced at her, then looked toward Chen Xiao. You, with a resoluteness never seen before in his expression. Chen Xiaoyu, no matter what, I will never give up. I truly may not have embraced you in the past, but I have never denied you. I was in the wrong before, but only after missing out did I realize how precious it was. I definitely won't give up. After finishing those words, she strode toward the teaching building. Zhuolin cursed under her breath and cast a worried look at Chen Xiaoyu. How much Chen Xiaoyu used to like Lan Xinyu back then, he knew best. At a time like this, what he worried about most was still Chen Xiaoyu's emotions being affected by Lan Xinyu. I'm fine. Zhuolin patted my shoulder with a hint of heartache. No matter what happens, women cannot be relied on. Bros are forever. Don't try to act tough. Thanks. Let's be bros again in the next life, huh? Not just the next life. For lives upon lives, forever and ever, you and I are bros. In these gloomy days, he had never been afraid. Because he also had people who cared about him, and someone who always stood firmly and unwaveringly in place. At this moment, a figure slowly walked over. Jolin instantly jumped up. Standing right in front of Chen Xiaoyu, it's you. Did you guys actually plan this out or something? One after another. It never ends. Move aside, I'm not here for you. If you were here for me, I would have beaten you up long ago. What on earth are you trying to do? Li Zhenan was driven to distraction with rage and looked somewhat furious and hopping mad. He really wanted to go find Chen Xiaoyu and apologize right now. Yet this guy just happened to be someone completely impervious to reason. Jolin arched an eyebrow, his expression shifting in all sorts of ways. Listen to me, I'll say it again. Get out of my way right now. Who do you think you're acting tough in front of? If you don't move, what can you possibly do to me? Li Shinan was beside himself with anger. Even though he was also tall and broadly built, if a real fight broke out, he wouldn't be able to withstand a few moves from this guy. Suppressing the anger blazing in his heart, he took a deep breath. I have something I need to find Chen Xiaoyu for. It has nothing to do with you. Chen Xiaoyu is my bro. He's my best friend. You can just tell me whatever business you have. Li Zhenan stared fiercely at Jolin. Chen Xiaoyu is my bro. The moment he blurted out those words, an inexplicable sense of bitterness surged in his heart. Suddenly his tone turned somewhat confrontational. I'm not looking for you. I'm looking for him. As he said that, he tried to walk around Jolin. Chuklin took a big stride across and blocked Li Zhenan's path once again. No passage this time. Step aside. You want to fight? I'm begging you to let me pass. I really have something I want to say to Chen Xiaoyu. Save it, pal. Jolin had already seen right through him. Given what he had done to Chen Xiaoyu in the past, a leopard never changes its spots, and now he was putting on an act right here. Li Zhenan felt an indescribable level of irritation. What on earth will it take for you to let me pass? No matter what you do, I won't let you pass. Li Zhenan was left completely speechless. He had genuinely come to apologize this time. He really wanted Chen Xiaoyu to forgive him. Yet with other people around, there was simply no way he could say those things aloud. He knew this guy Jolin was an absolute ruthless character. Once the guy said something, he would definitely follow through. Li Zhenan let out a light sigh and turned around with a look of vexation. I'm leaving. Don't bother seeing me out. Li Zhenan stumbled with a misstep and nearly took a tumble. All afternoon long, Jolin stayed guarding by Chen Xiaoyu's side, giving Li Zhenan zero opportunities whatsoever. Furious enough to grind his teeth in rage, when school dismissal time arrived, Li Zhenan intercepted a classmate named Guang Guangjie. Do me a favor? What kind of favor? Isn't the weekend right around the corner now? I want to ask Chen Xiaoyu out to hang out. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to ruin someone? Don't drag me into this. I'm definitely not going down in the mud with you. In your eyes, am I only capable of ruining people? If it were someone else, maybe not. But if it's Chen Xiaoyu, that's hard to say. Go find someone else. I'm not keeping you company in your madness. Are you out of your damn mind? I'm not trying to ruin anybody. I just want to invite him out to have some fun, that's all. Hearing Li Zhenan put it that way, Guang Guangji looked at Li Zhenan with suspicion. Li Zhenan felt both helpless and wretched. If you don't believe me, you can gather some other people to come along as well. I'll just foot the bill when the time comes, alright? What on earth is your actual goal here? Li Zhenan almost couldn't stop himself from slapping him across the face. Just do as you're told. As long as nothing goes wrong, that's fine, right? You can even pick the entire location yourself. Is that good enough? Well, alright then. I'll decide on the spot myself and notify you when the time comes. Li Zhenan gave a nod. At that moment, Chen Xiaoyu and Jolin were walking out. Together from the classroom doorway, Guang Guangjie walked over with a smile. Chen Xiaoyu, are you free this weekend? Let's go play at the beach together. Go play at the beach. Yeah, didn't we win the basketball match before? Even though it was a friendly match, I'm still pretty hyped up about it. So I wanted this weekend to invite some classmates out to hang out together. You are the MVP of this time around. So, of course, the first person I looked for was you. Do you really have a heart that good? Look at you saying that. Am I that kind of person? I've always been united with my classmates. Kind and loving. Alright, in the past, due to his family's strict discipline, he rarely participated in activities like this. Maybe this kind of thing is actually pretty nice. Then it's settled. I'll go find the other classmates. I always feel like something is off. Whatever, what's the big deal anyway? He surely wouldn't push me into the ocean. Even if he pushed me into the ocean, it's no use. Aren't you a little swimming prodigy? I don't remember having a title like that. This title is pretty good though. A day passed and the weekend arrived. The beach on the weekend was livelier than usual. Not too far away. There were also some barbecue stalls set up. People coming and going made it look very bustling. It wasn't hot at this time. The sea breeze blowing over carried a hint of saltiness, yet it gave people a refreshing feeling instead. Following Guangguangjie to this place, Chen Xiaoyu inexplicably felt a sense of relaxation and open-mindedness. The blue of the sky and the blue of the ocean are actually a bit different, especially at a time like this. That feeling was even stronger for Chen Xiaoyu. How is it want to go swimming? Guangguangjie said as he also cast a lecherous look toward the other female classmates. Seeing how he was acting, the female classmates walked away without saying a word. I'm footing the bill on the surface at least. How can you guys just ignore me like this? Jolin patted him on the shoulder and laughed gloatingly. You'll get used to it. Actually, the fundamental reason is still just because you aren't good looking. Otherwise, when you say things like this, they wouldn't sound so creepy either. Can you not just say it out loud like that? Then just pretend I didn't say anything. How about it want to go play around? Forget it. Actually, whether it was him or the other classmates, none of them had the mood to go into the water at this time. They all just wanted to come here to relax their minds. Too bad I still wanted to compete with you. Compete in what? Every single time you lose and I win anyway. There's not even a shred of a sense of achievement. That's why I'm saying you don't know how to act like a human at all, man. As a friend, at least pretend to lose to me once. Next time for sure. Fine, fine. Not far from the two of them, Lan Xinyu pretended to be casual, while her big ears were already perked up. Hearing what the two of them said, she felt somewhat surprised. She actually never knew that Chen Xiaoyu could swim. She only knew that Zhou was extremely good at swimming. Lan Xinyu suddenly seemed to think of something, yet for a moment, she couldn't catch the train of thought no matter what. Not far behind several of them, Li Zhenin was watching this scene from afar. Even though he had guessed this situation would happen, he still felt somewhat depressed. This guy, Zhou, stuck to Chen Xiaoyu's side like superglue, making it completely impossible for him to find any opportunity. How is it? Forget it, he looks pretty happy too anyway. Being able to let him relax a bit. That's enough. What are you doing? Are you sick in the head? I seriously want to hammer you to death. Li Zhenin dropped those words and turned around to leave immediately. I was just stating the facts, that's all. Seriously, it's pretty gross. Having grown accustomed to seeing Li Zhenan go looking for trouble with Chen Xiaoyu, seeing Li Zhenin suddenly want to treat Chen Xiaoyu well, that feeling was both awkward and unnatural. He turned around and spotted Lan Xinyu ahead in the distance. I remember Li Zhenin. Seems like that was the ocean where Lan Xinyu was saved, right? Ever since that time, Lan Xinyu went to learn how to swim, and seemed to have gotten pretty good at it too. Guangguangjie suddenly argued. Wait, that's not right. I remember Li Zhenin isn't even that good at swimming, is he? Whatever. Who cares? It has nothing to do with me. On the beach, a few female classmates had already taken off their shoes, and were laughing and playing around on the shore. They ran around recklessly, looking much more lively than usual. How is it? The scenery isn't bad, right? Chen Xiaoyu smiled and sat down under a coconut tree. Not bad. Just wondering what the senior girl would say if she found out. You aren't going to snitch, are you? Who knows, a sea breeze blew over, and Chen Xiaoyu couldn't help breaking into a violent fit of coughing. A faint, fishy, metallic taste came from the palm of his hand. Chen Xiaoyu silently and quietly wiped the blood from his palm onto his clothes. You alright? What could possibly be wrong? While the two were talking, Lan Xinyu hesitated for a long time, and slowly walked over. Lan Xinyu looked at me with a hint of anticipation. Chen Xiaoyu, the scenery here is pretty nice. How about we go for a walk? Chen Xiaoyu arched an eyebrow. Just as he was about to speak, you must rarely come to a place like this. There are some spots you probably haven't been to. I'll take you to check them out. Trying to butter someone up without even figuring out the situation first. Didn't you know Chen Xiaoyu used to work part-time right here? He's way more familiar with this place than you are. Lan Xinyu's smile froze on her face. That kind of awkwardness made people want to run away. Yet she suddenly felt very strange again. Chen Xiaoyu working part-time here? When on earth did that happen? Put that way, Chen Xiaoyu should be exceptionally skilled at swimming. But didn't Li Zhenan say before that Chen Xiaoyu's swimming wasn't all that great? Lan Xinyu endured her awkwardness and looked toward Chen Xiaoyu. She wanted to figure out the truth of the matter. Suddenly, a panicked voice came from ahead. Oh no, Xiaoqi fell into the water. As the voice rang out, everyone came running over one after another. For a moment, everyone was flustered and at a loss. Having no idea what to do for the best, a classmate nearby roared Li Zhenin. Go save them quickly. Didn't you save Lan Xinyu before? Hurry up and go save them. My swimming skills aren't really that great either. My foot is acting up. His swimming was alright, but he wasn't very good at saving people, you see. Then I'll go. Chen Xiaoyu jumped into the water without a second thought. Chen Xiaoyu swam extremely fast. His form was exceptionally standard, and his life-saving moves could be called textbook perfection. Before long, the person had already been dragged back up. Lan Xinyu's mind started churning with doubts. What kind of part-time job did he do before? Didn't Li Zhenan say his swimming wasn't very good? At this moment, an unlikely answer surfaced in her heart. Lan Xinyu vigorously shook her head no. Impossible. Li Zhenan is my savior. For me to guess and speculate like this is going way too far. Xiaoqi got onto the shore and quickly ran to her friends crying and howling away. The shock she experienced this time was evidently not small. A classmate turned around to look at Chen Xiaoyu, who was still in the ocean, and cried out at the top of his lungs, "Chen Xiaoyu, you get up here too. The ocean is dangerous. Hurry up and come up, Chen Xiaoyu, get over here." Chen Xiaoyu was panting heavily. The grueling task of saving someone was for him right now. Still somewhat straining and exhausting, hearing what these people were saying, Chen Xiaoyu didn't dare linger either. After all, the ocean was a terrifying entity indeed. He had barely taken 2 steps when suddenly a piercing, heart-wrenching pain shot through his body. Chen Xiaoyu's body spasmed violently, and he collapsed straight down into the sea. Chen Xiaoyu, seeing the situation, Li Zhenan instantly panicked and charged toward Chen Xiaoyu. At that moment, the receding waves surged back in once again, sweeping both Li Zhenan and Chen Xiaoyu into the ocean. Seeing this scene unfold, everyone was dumbfounded. Oh God! The roaring sound of water echoed right beside their ears. Swept up by the crushing waves, his body felt a coldness like never before. This was his very first time drowning. Over these past few days, Chen Xiaoyu had wondered what kind of taste death was. Yet at this moment, he still couldn't help feeling a sense of unease and terror. Chen Xiaoyu tried desperately to control his body, but his body felt as though it had turned completely rigid at this moment. After struggling twice, he sank right beneath the water. The seawater grew increasingly icy cold, and his consciousness also began to blur. Amidst the darkness, it seemed like a figure swam over. Chen Xiaoyu forced his consciousness to stay in control, trying his best not to black out too early. In his line of sight, he could vaguely make out Lan Xinyu looking like a fish, swimming straight toward Li Zhenan. It's Lan Xinyu. Is she here to save me? So that's how it was. Just as expected. It seemed he really had never been chosen with firm, unwavering resolve. The very last breath of air in Chen Xiaoyu's mouth was also exhaled all at once. His body gradually lost all of its remaining strength. As he plummeted down into the freezing ocean, Li Zhenan was dragged ashore and said to Lan Xinyu in a somewhat incoherent manner, "Xinyu, go save Chen Xiaoyu." "Why aren't you going to save Chen Xiaoyu?" An expression of agony surfaced on Lan Xinyu's face. No matter what, Li Zhenan was her savior. The grace of saving one's life is of the utmost importance. In a situation like this, no matter what, it was impossible for her to go save Chen Xiaoyu first. While Li Zhenan was speaking, Chen Xiaoyu was dragged to the shoreline by Zhou Lin. At this point, whether it was Zhou Lin or Chen Xiaoyu, their complexions were frighteningly pale, especially Chen Xiaoyu. His face looked just like a dead person's. At this moment, he was also lying there quietly, as if not breathing a single breath of life. Seeing Chen Xiaoyu like this, Lan Xinyu felt as though her heart was about to split apart. Chen Xiaoyu Chuolin used up all his strength and roared out at her. "I thought you went to save Xiaoyu just now. I was even getting ready to go save Li Zhenan. Never would I have expected you to directly choose to save Li Zhenan, since you've already made your choice. Why bother putting on a fake, hypocritical act of concern? Did I do something wrong?" Lan Xinyu was startled and jolted by the shock, biting her red lips in utter helplessness. At that moment, a crowd of people came running over in a flurry. The lifeguards had arrived. The classmates nearby let out a sigh of relief. Once the lifeguards arrived, they immediately began emergency rescue procedures on Chen Xiaoyu. The situation looks a bit serious. His breathing is way too weak. He must have inhaled a lot of water. We need to force the water out of his stomach right now. Get to it immediately. If we're too late, it'll be over. These lifeguards set to work with all hands on deck. Hearing what they said, Lan Xinyu's heart trembled violently. Anxiety gripped her completely. She never imagined that Chen Xiaoyu's condition would become serious to this extent. She attempted to step forward when Jolin suddenly blocked her path. Lan Xinyu pleaded desperately. "I just want to check on Chen Xiaoyu." Jolin still harbored deep resentment at this juncture, giving Lan Xinyu a sharp, piercing look. "You'd better not get close to Chen Xiaoyu. I've noticed that whenever you get close to Xiaoyu, nothing good ever happens to him. So I'm begging you, just consider it for Xiaoyu's own good. Stop getting close to him, alright? I just wanted to go take a look at Chen Xiaoyu. He's still in grave danger right now." While speaking, her gaze kept darting toward Chen Xiaoyu, at the spot where he lay, watching those rough and crude movements of the people around him. Her heart was bleeding. "I thank you so much. I truly, really thank you. If it weren't for you, Chen Xiaoyu might not have ended up in as terrible a state as he is now." "What kind of cynical, sarcastic remarks are you making right now?" Lan Xinyu was choked up and left completely speechless. Lowering her head in agony, the people nearby let out long, heavy sighs. Yet no one was in any mood to speak up for Lan Xinyu. Actually, they could all see it clearly as well. Chen Xiaoyu's condition at that moment was the most critical by far. If someone needed to be saved, of course the very first person to save should be Chen Xiaoyu. Yet nobody could have anticipated that what Lan Xinyu thought of was going to save Li Zhenan. Of course, choosing who to save was her own right. No one could interfere with that. But why bother coming back to look for Chen Xiaoyu afterwards? To put it bluntly, right between Chen Xiaoyu and Li Zhenan, she simply chose Li Zhenan, that's all. Beneath the cover of night, the figures of Lan Xinyu and the other person illuminated by the street lamps were cast very long on the ground. Feng Robin began to inquire, "Xinyu, tell me the honest truth. Do you actually like Li Zhenan?" Lan Xinyu shook her head. Feng Robin cast a suspicious look over, "Are you telling the truth? If you don't like him, why, in that kind of situation, did you run over to save him first?" I actually wanted to go save Chen Xiaoyu at the time. My entire mind was filled with Chen Xiaoyu, yet the moment I heard Li Zhenan's voice, I snapped right back to reality, because Li Zhenan was the one who saved me right in this very spot. If I were to abandon him right here, what kind of person would I even be? Under those kinds of circumstances, I couldn't possibly go save Chen Xiaoyu first. Do you also think what I did was wrong? These kinds of things aren't about being right or wrong. What are you planning to do now? I want to apologize to Chen Xiaoyu. You'd better not go. I just want to apologize to him, that's all. Xinyu, I actually don't want to get involved in the things between you guys. You have your own issues to resolve. But as your friend, I want to remind you of one thing. Hearing this, Lan Xinyu's heart inexplicably tightened up. Feng Robin looked over with a skeptical expression. In a situation like yours, when you can't make up your mind at all between someone like Li Zhenan and the rest, then you aren't suited to go dating other people. Do you get what I mean? It's not just Chen Xiaoyu. Even when it comes to anyone else, you shouldn't go disturbing other people either. Because when you encounter a choice like that again, you're still going to choose him anyway. Was I wrong? You weren't wrong. You just shouldn't have done it that way. But I really truly like Chen Xiaoyu. I like him so much. These past few days I've been pondering these issues as well. And I'm in so much agony too. I've constantly been searching for a way to resolve this. I went online to ask around, and went to find other people. Going to find them is completely useless. Lan Xinyu felt as though she had been struck a heavy crushing blow. Her complexion turning somewhat pale, completely useless. You should know very well yourself. There is something fundamentally wrong with what you're doing. You go ask online and ask other people just to give yourself a legitimate reason to act this way. A lot of people do things like that, but in reality it's a very selfish approach. It satisfies your own heart, while constantly torturing someone else. Tormenting people is inherently selfish. The moment you start liking someone, a sense of possessiveness naturally arises. You can think about it for yourself. If you and Chen Xiaoyu traded places, and he pulled the exact same stunts you did, how would your mood feel? Lan Xinyu's complexion turned deathly pale. Just imagining it alone made her feel a wave of anger welled up from deep within. With the pent-up frustration in her heart having nowhere to vent, people so often want to have the best of both worlds. But where in this world are there such wonderful things? Whether it was Chen Xiaoyu or Li Zhenan, their desires were ultimately the same. The things they wanted were identical, which simply means their situations cannot possibly coexist at the same time. You either choose one, or else don't choose either of them at all. Get some good rest. Chulin gave one more warning before walking out of the room. I walked to the doorway and said gratefully, "Jolene, thanks. What kind of nonsense are you spouting, damn it? Running a fever or something?" Jolin closed the door behind him, plunging the room into complete darkness. Chen Xiaoyu lay back down. Actually, back when he was following the senior girl to learn how to swim, Jolin was right there beside them too. Jolin's talent was actually better than his, but on one occasion, Jolin got dragged underwater while trying to save someone, and almost drowned. Developing a certain aversion to water ever since, even though he can swim normally now, he still holds a certain sense of fear when it comes to saving people. Today was his very first time overcoming that kind of fear. The next day, Chen Xiaoyu didn't go to school, and took a day off. Actually, by this point in time, there was no need for him to go to school at all. Maybe it was time to start considering finding some other things to do instead. Chen Xiaoyu recalled all the various events of these past few days, falling into deep doubt and contemplation. As it was getting a little past 12:00 noon, the doorbell of Chen Xiaoyu's house rang. "It's Yusari. Come on in." Lan Xinyu looked at Chen Xiaoyu with a flattered expression. Following Chen Xiaoyu inside, the house appeared very spacious and empty. Aside from some necessary furniture, there was nothing else at all. "Do you usually live here all by yourself?" Chen Xiaoyu sat down and poured her a glass of water. "I know what the purpose of your visit is today. I've already heard about the specific details. However, you don't need to take it to heart either. Sometimes it's simply a matter of choice. This is your right. You are free to make your own choice. Lowering her head, not daring to look at Chen Xiaoyu, she had clearly told Chen Xiaoyu before that she wouldn't give up, and she had also sworn that she would definitely make amends. Yet the things she was doing right now were continually hurting Chen Xiaoyu. Do you really hate me that much? Lan Xinyu spoke in a soft, lingering voice, subconsciously raising her head to look nervously toward Chen Xiaoyu. The gaze Chen Xiaoyu directed at her was exceptionally calm as a pool of stagnant dead water. Yet Lan Xinyu inexplicably felt a surge of panic. This was Chen Xiaoyu's very first time using such a calm gaze. To look at her, without even the slightest hint of dodging or evasion within it, Lan Xinyu's entire body turned ice cold. If Chen Xiaoyu had been furious and emotional at this moment, she might have felt somewhat relieved, but Chen Xiaoyu was unprecedentedly calm. This kind of calmness made her feel suffocated. Chen Xiaoyu's gaze gave her an urge to turn and run away. Under circumstances like this, it would actually be much less painful if he just beat her up directly. Lan Xinyu's lips trembled, trying with all her might to spit out a complete sentence. She had thought about it constantly beforehand, but at this very moment, she felt a panic like never before. An unprecedented sense of unease. Chen Xiaoyu, what I did back then, I had no other choice. Li Zhenan saved my life once in the past. I had no choice but to go save him first. There really is nothing going on between him and me. The person I like is you. It's always been you. Please don't misunderstand. You said before that you wanted to forge a good outcome. I told you back then, you can't forge anything at all. And I'm telling you the exact same thing right now. There will never be any kind of outcome between the two of us. Stop obsessing over these things. Your goal before was to get into a good school. Just keep following your previous path and do that now. There's no need to get tangled up with Mui. If these words were spoken in the past, Lan Xinyu wouldn't have been this worried. But having them spoken under the current circumstances caused Lan Xinyu to lose her sanity all at once. Lan Xinyu suddenly rushed forward and hugged Chen Xiaoyu tightly. Chen Xiaoyu, I was wrong. Are you really not willing to forgive me? Let's do this again. Let's start over from the beginning. 4096. This time, let's stop caring about everyone else, alright? 1497, Lan Xinyu no longer had her usual arrogant appearance. 4098, and began to plead in a humble, pathetic manner. 4099, why bother? Some things are just the way they are. 4100, once a page is turned, it's completely over for good. 4101, holding on to the past has 0 point or purpose whatsoever. 4102, past entangled and endlessly messy. 4103, it will only bring extra trouble to oneself. 4104, Chen Xiaoyu consoled Lan Xinyu for a good while. 4105, looking somewhat lost and dejected as he walked out of Chen Xiaoyu's home. 4106, how did it go? Lan Xinyu saw Feng Robin. 4107, and burst into a loud, heart-wrenching wail. 4108, he doesn't want me anymore. 4109, he doesn't want me. 4110, if that's the case, you should let go as well. 4111, sigh, but I really truly like him so much. 41-no-tuetsuit, why did things turn out like this? 41-3, I feel so miserable. 41-14, on the bench in front of the apartment complex, the street lamps cast a yellowish glow. Lan Xinyu sat on the bench in a rather dejected state, her eyes looking extremely red and swollen after crying her heart out. Lan Xinyu sniffled twice and spoke in a soft, lingering voice. We probably don't have a single chance left with each other anymore. Have you made up your mind? What use is it whether I've made up my mind or not? He already hates me. No matter what I do now, he won't pay any attention to me anymore. Then let's just make a clean break of it once and for all. Lan Xinyu's fingers were trembling, suddenly gritting her teeth fiercely as she rushed out and shouted at the top of her lungs toward Chen Xiaoyu's apartment. Chen Xiaoyu, you listened to me clear and well. Just like you said, we no longer have any relationship whatsoever. We're just ordinary classmates. I don't want you either. I don't like you anymore. I will never ever like you again. Feng Robin stood behind her, shaking her head with a hint of heartache. In the early morning, Chen Xiaoyu stepped through the morning mist to arrive at school. Quite a few classmates crowded around him, inquiring about the specific details of what happened. The events of that day had truly frightened them. Chen Xiaoyu gave a brief explanation of the situation, and after pacifying these people with a couple of words, he returned to his own seat. Is your body feeling a bit better now? Still running a slight low-grade fever, but nothing major or serious. Hearing this, Jolin let out a sigh of relief, though he quickly grew dissatisfied again. You could have totally taken another day off to rest before coming to class. You were literally running a high fever earlier. While the two were talking, Lan Xinyu and Feng Robin walked into the classroom together. Upon seeing Chen Xiaoyu, Lan Xinyu casually shifted her gaze away, and chatting and laughing with Feng Robin, walked towards her own seat. Is he alright? When Lan Xinyu saw Chen Xiaoyu just a few days ago, her heart would be excited beyond belief. Why is her reaction so cold and indifferent now? What could possibly be wrong? Regarding matters concerning Lan Xinyu, he had already started not caring about them long ago. By the time the day at the beach rolled around, he had already completely let go. Therefore, Lan Xinyu's actions right now were completely inconsequential and harmless to him. No, that's not right. There's definitely something fishy going on. Is she plotting some other scheme or trick again? No way you can rest easy. Chen Xiaoyu recalled last night, and all those things Lan Xinyu shouted outside his apartment complex, then shook his head. Chen Xiaoyu smiled as he recounted what happened last night. Ah, so that's how it was. Hearing this, Zhuo Lin secretly let out a sigh of relief. Time ticked away second by second. Gradually, inside the classroom, the other people also quite spontaneously turned their gazes toward the direction of Lan Xinyu and Chen Xiaoyu. Even Li Zhenan was also looking over at their direction with a puzzled expression. Lately, things have been getting so weird. First it was you, and now even Lan Xinyu and Chen Xiaoyu have become so bizarre. What on earth happened between you guys? Nothing, really nothing at all. Li Zhenan flatly refused to answer anymore. Class continued until it was finally time for a break. The English teacher looked over toward Li Zhenan. Li Zhenan, your scores are getting a bit dangerous, or I'll still have to find someone to tutor you. The English teacher scanned the situation at the scene. Originally, the most suitable person would have been Chen Xiaoyu, because Chen Xiaoyu's grades were the best, and it wouldn't delay his own studies either. However, having been rejected previously, the English teacher found it awkward to bring it up again. Teacher, I can step up to tutor classmate Li Zhenan this time. My English grades are decent too. Hearing this, the English teacher let out a sigh of relief. Upon hearing about this development, the rest of the class was even more astonished. In the past, Lan Xinyu poured most of her focus into her own academic studies and would never do something like this. Never did they expect her to take the initiative this time around. The other people in the classroom could not stop whispering amongst themselves. Feng Ruobin looked at Lan Xinyu's stubborn expression and said with a regretful, emotional sigh, "You really didn't have to do this. Since you decided to make a clean break with him, you should have just done it thoroughly. Do you still expect him to care about me in the future?" Li Zhenan isn't a bad choice either. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed by. Over these past 2 days, Lan Xinyu and Li Zhenan practically stuck together all the time. Back in the past, Lan Xinyu would always come looking for Chen Xiaoyu from time to time. But right now, she hadn't looked for Chen Xiaoyu even once. And the way she treated Chen Xiaoyu was as if she hadn't even seen him at all. This scene made the classmates in the room find it increasingly bizarre. Judging by the current situation, it looked like a pair of awkward lovers having a fight, where the girl wanted to use another guy to trigger her boyfriend on a patch of lawn. Li Zhenan clutched a textbook and glanced over at Lan Xinyu with a feigned indifference. "Do you like me?" Lan Xinyu's hands trembled slightly, her gaze darting away to avoid eye contact. Soon she raised her head back up, looking at Li Zhenan with a peaceful and apologetic expression. "I'm sorry. I know, actually these past few days, I've been constantly pondering the relationship between us. There's one thing I've always wanted to tell you. I kept thinking that if you replied to me by saying, you liked me too, I would just let this matter remain hidden forever. But looking at it now, I still have to tell you the truth. Only you might need to mentally prepare yourself first." "What is it?" Seeing Li Zhenan's solemn and serious demeanor, Lan Xinyu inexplicably grew nervous. Cold sweat broke out on the palms of Li Zhenan's hands as he gazed fixedly at Lan Xinyu and turned his head away, finding it hard to bear. "You've always thought I was your savior." "Actually, that's not true at all. Li Zhenan, even if I rejected you, you don't need to say things like this. Actually, I always wanted to tell you, but I really truly like you. Liked you beyond measure. That's why I never dared to tell you I know. If we didn't have this layer of connection between us, you definitely wouldn't spare me another glance. I'm so sorry. I'm truly sorry, no. That can't be possible, right? If that really were the case, then what on earth were all those things she did to Chen Xiaoyu worth? How many times did she choose Li Zhenan over Chen Xiaoyu? Simply because she believed Li Zhenan was her lifesaver. Even during that previous life or death crisis, she made that exact same choice. So what was all of this worth? Xinyu, don't come over here." She stared deathly at Li Zhenan, wanting to read a shred of a clue from Li Zhenan's face, but reality was destined to disappoint her. At this moment, Li Zhenan held nothing but guilt, and the expression of someone relieved of a massive burden. Lan Xinyu suddenly became completely hysterical. "Tell me that all of this is fake. Fake, I'm sorry." When Li Zhenan uttered those words, it completely shattered the last shred of wishful thinking in Lan Xinyu's heart. Her tears couldn't help but stream down from her eyes. "You should be able to tell my swimming skills aren't that great. Under circumstances like that, forget about saving anyone. I can barely save myself. I'm not your savior. That time I ran into you. It was just pure luck. At that time, Chen Xiaoyu happened to be working part-time there, so I just followed along to check it out. And after that, I ran into you being rescued. Lan Jinyu seemed to snap back to reality in an instant. Her eyes looked like they were about to pop out, showing yearning mixed with a hint of fear. Then is the person who saved me. Okay, don't you want to calm down first? Lan Jinyu asked stubbornly. By this point, her entire body was trembling violently. Who was he? Was it Chen Xiaoyu? Lan Jinyu was struck as if by lightning. At this very moment, she suddenly became calm instead, a calmness that made people feel quite uneasy. Jinyu, I'm fine. Lan Jinyu pushed Li Jianan's hand away and walked outside with somewhat unsteady steps. Smack! She hadn't even taken 2 steps when her legs went soft and she collapsed to the ground. Li Jianan had never seen Lan Jinyu lose her composure like this. He let out a loud cry and hurriedly rushed forward. Don't come near me. She lowered her head, tears constantly dripping onto the ground, yet she seemed completely unaware, walking forward step by unsteady step, as if she had no destination at all. Are you okay? This was the first time seeing Lan Jinyu in such a pathetic state. It was as if she had suddenly lost all her life force. This was a Lan Jinyu that had never existed before, as if she couldn't hear anything at all. She sat on a bench by the street, numb like a piece of wood. Feng Ruobing felt a pang of heartache, handed her a tissue and hugged her. It's okay. It's okay. Lan Jinyu snapped out of her daze, and upon seeing Feng Ruobing, she could no longer hold it back, and burst out crying bitterly. Ruobing, I regret it. I regret it. What should I do? I didn't know. I didn't know anything, yet I hurt him. Clearly, he was the one I loved the most, but I left him covered in scars. Why am I so stupid? Why did I never think about these issues? Clearly, he was the most important person to me, so why was I hung up on all those useless and trivial things? I was too selfish. I never regarded him as more important than myself, always measuring him by my own standards, and making demands of him. Why could I be so selfish? Clearly, he was the most important one, yet I valued myself way more than him. I regret it so much. I truly regret it so much. After she finished venting, Feng Ruobing softly asked, what on earth happened? Lan Xinyu's eyes were still red and swollen. As she choked back her sobs, she revealed the full story of what happened. Feng Ruobing felt deeply emotional inside as well. No wonder this friend of hers lost her composure like this. She originally wanted to offer a few words of comfort, but for a moment she was left speechless. As Lan Xinyu's best friend, she knew very well just how much Lan Xinyu adored Chen Xiaoyu, and how torn she usually was between Li Jianan and Chen Xiaoyu. If Li Jianan had truly been her savior, she would have felt somewhat better inside. But the reality right in front of them was the exact opposite. The person Lan Xinyu had constantly hurt was the very person closest to her, the most important person in her life. How could anyone endure a situation like this? At the academy entrance, Jolin draped an arm over Chen Xiaoyu's shoulder. Where are we going later? My sister wants you to come over for a meal. Sure. Just as the two of them walked out the door, a strange commotion suddenly erupted outside the entrance. Huh, did something happen? As he spoke, quite a few people were walking over there with smiles on their faces. Is it really that good looking? Duh. If she wasn't drop dead gorgeous, why would I rush over here like this? Her hair is silver, looking just like an elf. Hearing what they said, Chen Xiaoyu instantly thought of a certain silver-haired girl. Ever since that day, he hadn't run into her once. Choling was super pumped. Before Chen Xiaoyu could even speak, she dragged him over toward the crowd. Looking over at the crowd, a silver-haired girl was slowly walking toward them. Her looks were breathtaking, with delicate features completely flawless. If true peak beauty exists, it probably looks just like this. The guys here were scrambling over each other, fighting to get to the front, acting like just a glance from her was a blessing. This girl was none other than Molinin. She still had that same airheaded look, with all eyes in the area locked onto her. Yet she didn't seem to care at all, just doing her own thing. Not gonna lie though, this vibe of hers naturally makes you want to protect her. Hey, are you looking for someone? Finally, a few guys nudged each other and stepped up. Seeing how they acted, Jolene snapped out of it like waking from a dream. Oh, she's way too pretty. No way, can't let them win. I gotta protect her. She's practically a boss tier mob. You gonna protect her? Before Chen Xiaoyu could say anything, Jolene already dragged him forward in big strides. Moline was about to speak, but seeing the two of them, she cracked a smile and walked straight toward Chen Xiaoyu. Seeing the silver-haired girl walk over, Jolene could already feel himself floating on air. He quickly composed himself, striking a gentlemanly pose he'd never used before, and strode forward. Is she coming for me? Hey there, beauty. Turns out Moulin walked right past him, heading straight for Chen Xiaoyu's side. Again, with this, am I really completely out of luck with the ladies? Seeing this whole scene, Lan Xinyu, not far away, felt like her heart had been violently yanked, causing her face to instantly turn pale. This silver-haired girl is too gorgeous. Both her aura and looks completely crush hers. For a girl like this to come looking for Chen Xiaoyu made her feel an unprecedented wave of pain and depression. I was looking for you. Chen Xiaoyu looked the girl over. Long time no see. Her eyes are still as pure as before, looking completely untainted. Chuolin finally recovered, stepping right between them. Huh. You two know each other. Chen Xiaoyu is my friend. Mulin's voice was crisp and sweet. Hearing that voice, Chuolin felt totally immersed in it. Then he shot a wary look at Chen Xiaoyu, giving him a judging stare. Chen Xiaoyu shook his head at him. With the unspoken bond built between them over time, they already knew what the other was thinking. What Jolin wanted to ask was this girl Chen Xiaoyu's girlfriend? This wasn't the first or second time asking this. And Chen Xiaoyu's answer was obviously nope. Seeing this, Jolin let out a sigh of relief, flashing a suave smile. Beauty. Actually, I'm Chen Xiaoyu's friend too. Guess we're pretty meant to be. Want to get to know each other? We could be good friends too. I'm way better looking than Chen Xiaoyu. This guy totally forgot his past lessons. No need having Chen Xiaoyu is enough for me. Hearing Mulin's words, a chorus of shattering hearts seemed to echo around them. Watching Jolene flirt with them earlier, they were grinding their teeth in anger. But it was whatever. Hearing their goddess say something like that, it felt way worse than dying. Lan Xinyu twitched the corners of her mouth, even though she tried her absolute best to put on a smile. Her smile right now looked way worse than crying. She claimed to love Chen Xiaoyu the most, yet she fell far short of matching this girl's dedication, and effortlessly, she managed to do the things she herself never dared to do. She just couldn't compare. Why is it always you? When will it ever be my turn? If you weren't so goofing off all the time, you would have found someone ages ago. Thank you for always being there by my side.